We are indeed live with the Speed Chess Championship. I am here with Women's Grandmaster Jennifer Shahade. This is our second match of the first round we're hosting together, and as we look at all the faces of these top players, Jen, tell everybody how excited you are today to see Hou Yifan take on Fabiano Caruana.
Well, this is just the best match I could possibly hope to call with you, Danny. Two of my absolute favorite players of all time.
Yeah, and I think that this match has about as much anticipation as any of the matches in the first round. Hou Yifan obviously brings a lot of star power to the table, and though she's the underdog here against Fabiano Caruana, I think we know we're in for a super interesting match, and I can't wait to see what we have in store. Let's remind everybody of the format real quick before we jump in and get the game started. It's going to be 90 minutes of 5-2 blitz, 60 minutes of 3-2, and then a half an hour of bullet chess, the great equalizer that is bullet, and of course Chess 960 games sprinkled throughout. We had some really interesting Chess 960 games yesterday, Jen. Hopefully we got more of those coming up. And then, of course, the prizes. Obviously, the prizes for the first few rounds are broken up amongst these 16 superstars, but the big prize is just moving on to the next round. As everybody knows, the prizes increase significantly with every match till eventually you get to the finals, and who knows who we will see. You can see the updated bracket in front of you right now. Obviously, yesterday, the 7 seed, Jan Nepomniachtchi, took down Levon Aronian in a super closely contested match. It was a thriller, not quite as close as the So Geary match, but just about. And Jen, as we move over to the view here where we can see both players are set, we are getting set to start the 5-2 portion. You and I saying hi to the fans now, and we have about 30 seconds, and we have liftoff here.
All right, I can't wait. I'm just hoping for a really exciting match like yesterday's, Danny. I so enjoyed that, and there's just going to be some great chess today, and that's all we can ask for.
Absolutely. We have got both players followed and ready to rock. At least I believe that all players are online, and of course they are because the game has just started.
Here we go.
Here we go.
We're starting with double king pawn, and I predict a Ruy Lopez. There it is. And typical these days, anti-Berlin.
Yeah, how much theory you think we're going to see between these two players? I always wonder that. Sometimes the style of these players in Blitz and Bullet is to mix it up and poke and prod with something obscure. We saw Levon Aronian play a lot of Verisov yesterday, probably not something he's going to play so much in classical chess. But then eventually they transitioned into a lot of theory in the Lopez and in the English. But between these two players, what do you think we're going to see?
I think we're going to start with seeing more theory, and then as the time controls get faster, they're going to switch it up and play more random stuff.
Okay. Well, right now it looks like we're on track to see exactly that. As we move over here and take a peek into the players and check out our analysis board. We've got Hou Yifan playing from Beijing today, everybody. So it is exactly 6 a.m., 6:01 a.m. there. So she had to get up bright and early, but Fabiano playing on the East Coast along with you, Jen, and we will probably be seeing the dark clouds as this match rolls on and it becomes nighttime there for both of you in New York.
So it's the battle of the night owl and the morning lark, indeed.
Yep, we'll see who's more fatigued. So what do we got going on here in the position?
This is one of those positions in the Ruy Lopez where it's just all about who understands things better. I mean, it certainly seems a bit more fun to play for white because that bishop on e3 is so much stronger than the bishop on a6. So starting out, I got to say I like Fabiano's position.
Okay. But not a lot of long-term weaknesses here for black. Obviously, Yifan just played the move f6, and certainly we look at the light squares as potentially weak, but white doesn't have a light square bishop, so how strong do you think an attack on the king side could actually be if Fabiano gets a move like f5 and maybe starts attacking?
Well, really what I want is a knight on f5. If
Right.
I could get a knight on f5, my life would be beautiful. But I guess the problem is, like, if we start moving our knight away from c3, the move d5 is really what Hou Yifan will want to play because that's the kind of Ruy Lopez move as black. You really start thinking about equalizing once you get that in successfully.
Yeah, absolutely. So She's put the knight on f8, preparing to defend the king side, and Fabiano playing a patient move here, queen to g3. Probably White's plan will involve building on this tension, maybe things like rook f2, bringing the other rook to f1 before deciding how to deal with the king side. Maybe eventually taking on e5 and trying to bust things open for the rooks. What do you think about that idea, and what do you think Black's plan here is?
Well, Black would still like to get d5 in at some point, but it's gonna be difficult to do that successfully. She just played the move rook a7, trying to use her rook both as defense on the seventh rank and also maybe shift it to a more useful square like d7 or f7. Rook f3 by Fabiano, and as you mentioned, doubling rooks on the f file, creating some extra pressure.
Absolutely, and now he goes for rook f3, kind of the doubling rook idea, not exactly what I said there, but the rook on a7, very nicely placed for Yifan, and now she slides it over to f7. I guess...
Yeah, I mean, how can you really like Black here, though? You gotta like
Yeah.
White, right?
Right. No, it's a position where Black is basically sitting tight and hoping that White doesn't have enough, right? And I do like the point you pointed out that if this knight on c3 ever moves, d5 is a shot that, okay, even if she doesn't have it right away, it's certainly going to be a potential equalizer for Black. But the problem is, what does she do now? The rooks do double, as we kind of predicted, and Black is having to figure out a plan. Here she comes with the knight to e6, maybe coming into d4.
Yeah, coming into d4, this is definitely helpful. Note that d5 is always going to be tough now because we can just take on e5 and there's a little pin. Queen f2, I was a little worried about this move because note it hits the b6 pawn. So now Hou Yifan is probably going to try to play knight c5. What else, right? We certainly don't want to play c5, giving the juicy square to d5. So she just played e7.
And now she's just kind of sitting tight. I don't even know if it's a reality that she would actually go for something like b5. Maybe just sort of sitting tight with the rook. And again, White's pieces look a lot better, but where's the beef, as they say? Here comes rook g3, and maybe Fabiano's going to prepare to open up the f file and try to launch some tactics. Yifan plays king h8 to avoid obvious pin issues on the g file.
Exactly. She didn't want something like takes on e5 and then being forced to take back with the f pawn.
Both players are very focused here. Fabiano has leaned in past our initial camera angle, unfortunately, so we're getting a very good look at his Adam's apple right now, and his I guess that's a teal shirt, if that's a thing.
Teal, yeah, kind of like my nails, right?
Teal, yeah, there you go. You're matching Fabiano's shirt today. I think teal's a real color. If it's not just straight up green or blue, I tend to just make up words, but I think teal's a real color.
So rook to g4. Do you think he is trying to play? What's he doing with this move? Is he trying to sneak the queen over to h4? Is he just making a move to put pressure on her time? Is he trying to play queen g3? What do you think
I think that's a good point about the time, because obviously in a position that hasn't had a lot of fireworks yet, that's something you have to notice, is just who's up on time, and that might be a telling factor. I know I still tend to think that at some point you're probably going to rather take on e5 rather than play f5, because even though if something like f5 came, you like the idea of the dark square diagonal opening up and White being able to take his time with the attack. I feel like White's not going to have enough there. So Fabiano maybe just played rook g4 just to kind of overprotect the f4 pawn so that Yifan wasn't looking to trade there and bluff at the ideas of either rook h4 or queen h4. Okay, but she takes anyway. Is she going to take us again? Okay, she is. She's playing quickly, and that trade there, interesting to make that choice.
Well, yeah, that bishop on a6 certainly looks woeful compared to the knight on c3.
Right. But again, I guess the idea is that the bishop on a6 is kind of maybe long-term useful. One of the things that White can't do here is push a pawn to d4, right? You'd love to have a big center, but then your rook hangs on f1. So perhaps there's going to be some long-term value to the bishop on a6 if she can try to open up the position. But I like knight e2, and the knight's headed to f5 now.
That's right, knight to f5 via either d4 or g3. But big question here, how does d5 look? Well, it didn't happen. Maybe just immediate knight d4 was too strong. So here's the answer. Knight's coming to g3 because now it's also got the potential of going to h5 to create pressure.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, knight d4 a lot of players would play because it comes with the one move threat of knight takes c6, but this knight g3 is more long term. We have more potential for our knight. So now we've got rook e5 saying, I don't care if you play d4 because I'm going to use my rook to frontally defend with rook g5.
Yeah, I like it. It's still a position where we have to like white, and I'm just waiting for d4 to come in. So why isn't Fabiano just going to play a move like d4 here and then I don't know, even c4 to follow and just try to get a big center?
Well, he just started with c4 instead.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I guess it holds d5, but I still think the majority on the queen side. I guess it's not really fully a majority, but I was thinking that d4 would come in. Now we're getting a really close position. Long term, you look at all these pawns on the light squares and think there's going to be some weaknesses for that bishop to munch on. But the problem is that there's so many outpost squares for the knight, right? d5, b5. It looks like white is still in control here and will likely have the better minor piece still.
And note that Fabiano is putting all of his squares on all of his pawns on light squares, and he did move his knight back to e2 and played the move g4. Still not clear which way he's going to go with that knight. Is he going to try to stick it on f4 after retreating the rook on f3? Is he going to try to play d4? So many ideas here.
Yeah, now he's able to really build up. It's still been a position like it was the entire game, one where white is kind of patiently taking his time, right? He's just going to build up at his own leisure, reorganize the knight now. He's going to maybe eventually try for h4 and g5. So Yifan has definitely been on her heels since the start of this one, on the black side of the Spanish. Never really, just has been slightly worse all game. But okay, it is blitz, and as long as the game is still going, you never know. The biggest worry I have about black's position right now is starting to be the time, as she's just now crossed under a minute.
Yeah, I really like the way Fabiano's playing here. I think that Fabiano's practical abilities in blitz are just incredible. Like, obviously, not only is he a wonderful, elite player, but like also what he's doing here, shuffling his pieces around, running her down on the clock while still maintaining his better position and not making any commitments. Like a lot of strong but not as strong with players would have played d4 in that earlier position. But think about how hard this is for Hou Yifan.
Yeah.
To play this and, not having any clue exactly what he's doing yet, but just knowing that you're worse.
Nice move there, though. That's a practical chance. She's offering the exchange, everybody, and part of the reason is that if white takes on e5, Fabiano in many ways is kind of giving up his best piece besides the queen, and that would allow Yifan to have an open d-file and the potential to attack the d3 pawn with it. So I like that move, rook d8. I'm not sure that Fabiano's going to bite. My guess is white just continues along the path that we've been talking about, Jen, and tries to organize g5 at some point. You could even do something crazy like run your king over to one of these dark squares like f2 before putting the other rook on g1 and just try to punch g5 through and have all of white's pieces in a mating attack.
On the other hand, why not, if we take on e5 and you take d takes e5 and we play rook f3, and we're trying to break something open with g5, okay, he played g5 immediately.
Interesting.
And now after knight takes g5, oof, this looks so scary, doesn't it?
Yeah, it still looks like white is just getting closer to something crushing here. I mean, this almost starts to look like a problem book mate, right? You got the knight on g5 and the rooks gaining toward f8. Moves like queen f3 just threaten mate right away with threats like rook f8. So super scary stuff for Yifan here, and she only has 30 seconds to figure it out.
So knight f3, hitting the rook on e5 and also hitting the bishop on g6. It looks like Hou Yifan's going to be compelled to play rook e6, which she did do.
Rook h1, and that means we're about to switch, right? Here comes the queen back to h3 with this rook guarding the f-file. That's a mating net, and I'm starting to think we're about to see our first decisive result here. This is getting really rough.
Okay, so queen h3 now, rook takes f4 holds on because
right.
we
get
killed
out.
that defensive possibility.
But Fabiano just has so many moves at his disposal, right? Rook g4 is a move in between. Even bring the knight back to g5 and try to wiggle your way towards some kind of mating net that way. I think that okay, rook h4, maybe not threatening mate now with moves like rook h8. There's going to be king f7, but with this knight coming into g5, looks like black has a lot of problems. Look at the time, though. I mean, to Yifan's credit, she's been worse all game, and And Fabiano hasn't put her away yet, as he now gets under 30 seconds.
And here's this move, e5. Okay, this looks like a good move because next what's going to happen is if you take on e5, rook h8 check, king f7, then knight takes e5 check. And we're going to be winning material because of the hanging bishop on g6. And that is what's been played.
Yeah, there's going to be rook f2 or queen e2 in the end. So the issue there is, I'm sure Fabiano's calculated that, but he's got to find a way to gobble up this bishop without allowing there to become some sort of counterplay against his king on g2. And looks like he's kind of figured out how to do that. There's no checks now, and I think with rook h8 check coming, Yifan will be throwing in the towel here momentarily.
Yeah, after queen d6, it seems like anything should be good here for Fabi, and he did play rook e1 check. But
a simple queen trade will do, as they say, and now it's a matter of technique, and I'm sure that
knight e6 check now.
And with that he missed it, but okay. Yifan decides that she's going to resign anyway, and game one is in the book. So that's where we stand now, as everyone can see the score, 1-0 in favor of the American Grandmaster Fabiano Caruana. And now we have another Lopez. So is this going to be one of those days, Jen, where we all learn a little more theory about one particular opening than we ever planned on?
Well, yeah, it seems like this is going to be an opening that we see a lot from them. This was the game that Hou Yifan won against Fabiano. So, right. Yeah, I gotta throw that in, the Grenke Chess Classic. She actually did defeat him in that game. So she might be the underdog here, but she's really been kind of crushing lately. In Beal especially, that was such a huge event. Her.
Maybe the best result of her career besides winning the world championship title. What would you say? Is that a fair thing, winning Beal? I think it was up there, right? Certainly a huge result for her, and that was just a month and a half ago.
Exactly. So it's very inspiring indeed. Like, to have a woman right now playing at her level, it's just, we would love to see more women playing at her level, but it really is exciting, Danny.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she's seems to be on her way to being the great predecessor to Judith Polgar. At least many hope so, and she's obviously playing better chess than most people on the planet can aspire to. So we'll see how she fares in her Lopez, where she gets to be white. Right now, I don't know. This is a much more open position than the last one we had.
Yeah, I mean, in this one, I'm always going to like white in the Lopez for the beginning of the game. But we'll see how Fabi handles this. It definitely has got like a slightly unusual structure here from most Lopez's, with this bishop on b4 and the center already huge for Hou Yifan.
His unusual... Go ahead.
Oh, there's just a little bit of congestion with the rest of her development, right? Because she can't move her knight yet right now, and she wants to get her bishop out. So why not play for a3 and put the question to that bishop for Hou Yifan?
Yeah, it makes sense. And Fabiano sort of sensing his opportunity to take advantage of that. You highlighted that the knight can't move because of the rook, but if the knight can't move, that means the bishop can't get out, and sort of the snowball effect here. And so Fabiano trying to take advantage of the dysfunctional development with a move like c5. So opening up the position while white is kind of struggling for optimal coordination makes sense, though. Yeah, but I like your move a3. I think that I almost like b4 here. Just play b4, and I wonder if there's a way to sacrifice the queenside pawn and try to use the center as some sort of compensation.
I love it. I mean, that's what I was thinking too, because it's so frustrating that he can just play bishop a5. Like, no, you shouldn't be able to get away with that move.
Right.
b4.
Well, and she does it. All right. It's not sure if it's theory, and it's always scary whenever they play a move that we recommend, because I personally don't think very highly of my moves. But there you go.
Uh-oh.
Okay. But I like knight b. In fact, that's even better than the follow-up I was thinking. Now she's able to gobble back the pawn and maintain her large center, and it looks like white is on her way to a pretty decent edge in this middle game.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That knight b3 move was sweet, because if you didn't retreat the bishop, we would be able to take in and play bishop d2.
Yep.
So knight e4, trying to contest the diagonal of that super strong bishop on c2.
But still, a super accurate follow-up to that. Knight to c5 really puts the question to black. He doesn't want to remove this knight from its super strong center post, as that would reopen the bishop on the long b1h7 diagonal. But he also doesn't want to take the knight with the bishop, because then he loses the bishop pair. So I really like this move, knight c5, and we can see on the clock that Yifan is in a better position than she was in game one. Here, not with a big advantage, but a small-time advantage rather than being down by a minute or two.
Yeah, and then Bishop f5 immediately from Fabiano. And now, what's the idea if
g4? Maybe?
The greedy g4?
Yeah,
Exactly.
I want the greedy g4 for sure. Okay, she's playing patient chess. The rook comes to a3.
There was a knight c3 in the position, huh? So I guess that was why. And then you take on c2 and move your back knight back to e4.
Right. Yeah, nice point there. That would have been a very nice tempo for black. So she plays rook a3, but here comes b6. That's a very common way to undermine an overextended center, everybody. You go after that lead pawn so that when the capture happens, here black could probably take with the a pawn or the queen and already be getting more squares for his pieces. So b6, a nice move by Fabiano, and we're reaching a critical moment here, Jen, where I think for white to maintain an edge, there has to be some sort of aggressive move here coming.
Yeah. We have to check g4 at this point as well, right? I mean, it looks really risky, but I guess the point is that after g4, bishop retreats, you can't really just take on e4 twice because c5 hangs at the end.
Yep.
So that's what Fabiano is banking on. And I love the way Fabiano is playing so actively in this position, because I do think bishop e4 takes on e4, rook e4 is pretty greedy, because we also have this move like bishop d5, just kind of capitalizing on all the light squares.
Yeah.
So I don't think that Hou Yifan is going to snatch that pawn right now. I think she's going to do something different. Like, yeah, she takes on b6. And now I think we'll see Fabi play queen takes b6. Or what do you think? You think he's going to take with the pawn?
Well, no, I like queen takes b6 better as well, just because of the pressure that the queen is able to exert on the d4 pawn, and it makes it, to me, even harder for white to open the center. But yeah, you made a great point there. As much as we like g4, Bobbi was banking on the fact that if a trade happened on e4, the light squares would have become a real problem for white, as well as the d pawn. So just showing everybody that line here that you were just talking about. But I'm starting to feel like Fabiano has kind of worked his way out of the worst of it. Maybe white is still doing okay, but it's hard to see how her pieces get any more active. Okay, here's knight to d2. That's interesting. Trying to force the exchange.
But maybe we can try knight g5 here, just keeping lots of pieces on the board, and all of a sudden black's got like four attackers. The knight on g6, bishop on e6, and the queen potentially coming in. I guess the nice thing is that rook on b3 defends everything laterally, so maybe knight g5 is not such a good move, but I don't know. I honestly am starting to like black.
Yeah, me too. And also the time has sort of shifted, right? We've gone from an advantage for white, now she's down a little bit on the clock, and
this is just amazing, though. I mean, Fabiano just plays so incredibly well. It's like you really see it when you see him playing against a slightly lower rated player rather than playing Blitz, for instance, in the St. Louis Rapid and Blitz, where he was playing against like Naka and Levon.
Right.
Because I mean, just this way he's playing this game, like a little bit worse somehow, and now just like all these super active moves, which is turning the tables on Hou Yifan.
Yeah, and knight e4 followed by his willingness to give up that dark square bishop, that was key. And okay, so now she's taken e4, but everybody, she can't take twice, as that would allow this rook on b3 to be captured by the bishop. So
right.
I'm guessing rook a3 will be the move here, trying to do a double attack on either the pawn on a7 and the pawn on e4. Although sliding the rook all the way over to g3 is also on my mind if I did ever have outside chances for an attack. But okay, no, she plays the safer, more logical, let's have a double attack on the pawns move.
And possibly this position is still good for white. It just seems easier to play for black in a way, because you've got like some activity. For instance, like if I were to play, well, I was thinking of rook c4, and then if you play rook e4, I'd have bishop d5, but it just looks very scary to me for white. So he's playing bishop d5 straight away, and you still can't really take on e4 because we could take twice and just snap the pawn off on e5 because there's a pin on the d file.
And I was going to say, I think that's kind of a key idea there, because what we've got is the potentially weak dark squares as really the light squares as really the bigger problem for Yifan's position. The king side maybe coming under fire, and so if you went and took a7, which she's going to, I'm immediately looking at both queen h4 and knight h4. Somebody's going to h4, and you start to get worried about white's king there.
Exactly. I mean, and that all dates back to g4, which makes sense like in a classical game, especially you're trying to like win a pawn, but
right.
It really is very scary in these blitz games to have weakened your king because there's this relentless pressure. So rook a7 was Hou Yifan's choice, and as you mentioned, you got to watch out for knight h4.
Yeah, and these positions always make you wish you could just move the pawn from g4 back to g2, but as much as you try, the darn Chess.com software, the buggy Chess.com software doesn't let you play g4, g2. So now the king is open, and there's no turning back. I think Fabiano's going to turn the tables real quick, and we're going to have a huge attack on the king side.
But this rook c3 is better than knight h4, because the problem with knight h4 is it was taking away that idea that we had of taking on e5 at the end of the variation.
Right, and it takes a square for the queen, and I think there's definitely several positions where maybe the queen comes to h4 and you just play moves like h5 at some point. I think that black has a lot of ways to try to start to pry open the white king.
But here's Hou Yifan quickly playing a good defensive move to defend her third rank, rook e3 immediately. Now after bishop takes e3, knight does get into h4, and e4 is no longer under attack. But is she in panic mode now, Danny? Because this is really scary. Knight coming to f3 with check.
But I guess the problem is, where's the follow-up? Because I like this move bishop a4 as counterplay here. The thing is that as scary as this looks, I'm not, queen h4 has no concrete threat. Even lifting the rook to a move like e6 would have a ton of risk on the back rank. So I'm wondering if Yifan can get some counterplay on the queen side, black might just settle on a perpetual, like knight h4 check and knight back to f3 check, because where's the concrete follow-up here for black to make white's king feel really in danger?
That's a good question.
Yeah, it's hard to see.
I need to start like nibbling away at you with like a move like h5 probably. Try to open up some more lines and create g4 as a weakness.
Yeah, and I like bishop b3, because if she can trade the d5 bishop, then the e4 pawn obviously is easier to undermine.
There is queen b6, but then there's bishop takes d5, queen a7, bishop e4, and I think that Hou Yifan will breathe a sigh of relief to get that pawn.
Oh yeah, that would be a phenomenal exchange sack. So okay, Fabiano plays h5, and we quickly see the exchange, but still, I guess outside of the g4 pawn becoming weaker once this exchange happens, we still don't see a way to get an aggressive attack against the white king.
Right, because this move queen b1 is pretty sweet. Freezing my queen on d5. I like that move.
Yep.
Very important. Although I guess what's going on with d4? We still can't take it because I guess you had queen d1 or something.
Yeah, look at this move, queen b7. Super aggressive. I like it. Even king g3 here. Okay, she finds queen d7 to defend the pawn, but king to g3, I'm thinking that black doesn't really have enough, and if you try to get more pieces involved.
Well, queen h7 was played. I was wondering what was happening on f5. Bishop f4 defending against the ideas of invasion, and knight e1 immediately by Fabi.
Yeah, this is getting super sharp here. Is he going to check on f3 and trade the bishop for the knight? No, he wants to keep the mating net alive, and that's
knight d3, and it's like dizzying the path of this knight, isn't it?
It's crazy. Actually, it looks like mate all of a sudden. Amazingly, in that position after knight to d3, there was no
way to stop queen e1. Wow, we'll have to go over that one again, but what a stunning performance by Fabiano Caruana. Like, yes, you might, but from these first two games, you might think, wow, this is a mismatch, but really, it's that Fabi played amazing. It's not that Hou Yifan played poorly. That's how I feel about that game.
No, absolutely, and I'm surprised still that it turned around so quickly for black, because I do think white was better. I think she had defended the attack well. Just to show everybody on this little analysis board here, if bishop d2, queen f3 check, and queen takes f2 was going to be mate. And of course, if bishop to e3 to guard f2, then queen e1 was made on the spot. So knight d3 just came out of nowhere by Fabiano, and suddenly Yifan was lost. So all right, here we are in our first He's trying to take a leaf out of Levon Aronian's book, playing a Verisov like yesterday. Levon played many of these positions, although this looks like it's on the road to transposing to something a little more traditional, Queen's Indian-like, maybe even Queen's Gambit-like if Black eventually plays d5 here. So not going to be a traditional Verisov, but an obscure start by d4 and bishop f4 on move 2.
Yeah, so we're obviously this was a really tough start for Hou Yifan. It kind of makes you wish that there was like a little time for her to breathe, like a break. That's one of the things about these speed chess matches. You don't get any time
Yep.
to get over tilt. So I hope that she can kind of calm herself and really bring the best in the rest of the match.
Yeah, and that's the worry, especially if you are sort of the underdog and you want to have confidence as you're playing that you lose the first two. Your first goal now is to kind of stop the bleeding, right? Maybe get a draw even. Obviously, you take a win if you can get it, but the main goal is to get on the board, and you don't want the match to get into the 3-4 game territory. So we'll see how she can hold her own here, and now we've got definitely a weird-looking Queen's Indian defense.
Yeah, that last game, I'm still really enthralled by it. I just think it's really incredible how well these elite grandmasters play in just blitz games. It's like some of these moves and concepts that they come up with. It's like a classical game. You would be so proud to come up with it, right?
No, I mean, I don't know that I would ever. Yeah, of course, a class, any game, right? Any game would be happy. But no, it's always been impressive as these matches we do online have gotten bigger and bigger names and more elite players. It's amazing to see, the way they're able to play even when they're living off just the increment and even in bullet chess. So, and we run the numbers afterwards. We have these stats on our site that we run and use called CAP statistics. I don't know if you've ever seen those, Jen, where we basically. It's sort of a system we develop where we can see the accuracy of players regardless of the result and how they compare against each other. And we've seen some really incredible high-level performances in these blitz matches where these guys are playing superhuman chess and better than they do in short spurts over the board. So just amazing stuff.
All right, so we've got a two-bishop situation here. Hou Yifan just played this move knight h5 so that she can kind of get a stake in her center. She doesn't want to just let Fabi play e4 and have everything he wants with the two bishops. So
yeah, it's a weird position, right? I mean, I know I was maybe sound like I was being dramatic to say it was an obscure Queen's Indian, but it is, right? I mean, this is like you don't see the bishop on f4 normally. You don't see knights on h5, knights on h3, and moves like g3. As some parts of this structure look normal, like almost a Nimzo Indian, right? Like a classical Nimzo Indian with the queen on c3. But many other parts of it are just really awkward, and I think White has a small edge, but Yifan's position seems comfortable as well.
Ooh, queenside castles by Fabi.
Yeah,
this is waving a flag, but I see that normally we would think that the move a3 was weakening, but Fabi's thought maybe is it's easier for me to crank open things on Black than it is for you to crank things open on my king.
Right. Yeah, totally. In fact, it's hard to play a move like c5, and that's maybe why she played queen to e8, because the d file would have been pinned. And she plays queen e8, and maybe that also prepares a move like b5 coming to try to open up some avenues against the white queen side. But I agree. This is going to maybe turn into a much more dynamic game than I thought. White can't play g4 yet because after captures, the pawn on f3 is pinned to the bishop on g2. But at some point, White's going to want to play moves like g4 and try to start opening up things.
Yeah, or maybe I'm also wondering if he wants to revert to the idea of playing e4, moving his bishop and then sticking the pawn on e4. So this is just such an unusual position, and Caruana is actually getting into some time pressure here. Hou Yifan's got a minute edge, which is encouraging because a lot of times when you start losing, you have trouble managing your clock.
Yep.
So knight f4 by Fabi.
Yeah,
I like that because now we get to stick our bishop on f4 in one go, and the bishop
and maybe even go for e4. I'm wondering if I was harping on g4 as a way to open up the g file, but perhaps White just switches gears and tries to go big in the center with a move like e4.
But how is taking twice and playing like e5? Maybe that was some counterplay. But so that's why it looks like Fabi is kind of taking a positional approach here, though. He's played the move d5, and now a quick knight a5 from Hou Yifan, maintaining her big time edge.
After king b1, though, I'm wondering if Yifan can get away with a move like e5 here, and after the bishop moves, even some sort of long-term plan where you bring the knight into b3, into c5, maybe try for e4, and positionally we've got a positional battle now, not something where the kings are going for checkmate. Ooh, I really like this move, bishop a6. This is Nimzo Indian style chess.
I missed this move. This just looks great.
Yeah.
What do we do?
Yeah, no, the c4 pawn is a real problem, and suddenly Fabiano's got issues here.
Yeah, he's got issues. Not the good kind, because rook d4 leads to e5. So do we have to take, and if we take, then after queen e6, rook d4, there's 3 guys on c4.
Mm-hmm.
So this looks very troublesome. Can we get away with maybe just playing? I mean, I noticed that if I play c5,
yeah. Well, among the problems, if I can even take with the b pawn, right? Because you can't actually take the knight on a5 due to some sort of discovered checks on the queen.
Yeah, that doesn't look very good at all. So Fabi going for some practical chances here. I think he's played takes on e6.
And I was going to say, she can probably even just take c4 first, and the e6 pawn is kind of overextended, not going anywhere. And I think we're in big trouble if you're in Camp Caruana, because you're down a minute, you're down double the time, and about to be facing some sort of massive assault on the light squares of the queen side with the bishop and the knight. I think probably queen takes e6 just makes a lot of sense here. Pretty easy move to play, unless he finds a better one. But queen takes e6 even threatens things like bishop a2 check, Jen, and all of a sudden there's crazy tactics coming.
It looks disastrous here for Fabiano, because not only is he's losing a pawn, but his king seems to be less safe, and black's pieces are actually well poised on c4 and a5.
Yep.
And
she takes e4. Why not? I guess take e4 first, but so Fabi desperate to stop this idea of the queen coming to e6, but there's going to be other problems here. I mean, among them, moves like bishop e2 come in mind. If you take f3, there's an f pawn and a bishop on c4 guarding f1, so you don't want to let that guy live for very long. Probably queen takes f3 needs to be played.
Queen takes f3 with the idea that g5 can be met by queen g4.
Right.
Yeah, and you're hanging on in that position. So
I still wonder if she should have taken e6 instead of taking e4, just because that threat of bishop a2. But I mean, black is still totally in control here. And all right, queen c2. I mean, can't black go get some material if he wants?
You mean with bishop to b3?
Yeah, apparently on queen takes f3, one of the easiest moves was queen to g6 check. Oh yeah, and then it was just mate. White's king was something like king to c1, knight b3. So
that would have been really good. So queen c2, you were saying why not just bishop b3, right?
Bishop b3. I mean, I guess queen to c7 is there, but then queen to g6 check comes again, and I feel like white is on the verge of either losing the queen or getting mated. So so bishop b3 looks okay to me. And another move you might play is something like b5 or d5 to kind of anchor in the bishop on that square if you want to have more mobility with your knight. But I think white is in big trouble here. The only worry here, Jen, is Yifan is taking a lot of time, right? So you definitely, you want to see if she's looking to score here, you want to see her get something and not get into a massive time scramble.
Well, she was trying to find a super accurate move in this position, and she's played queen h5, ignoring the very obvious bishop b3, and instead trying to better that. And now after bishop b3, after bishop f5, the question is, has this backfired at all for her, or is this still just really good? I do notice that.
Yeah, I was going to say, can he just take ace e7? And I mean, f2 was possible there because the queen was overloaded. F2 is also a threat again in this position. Rook e2.
Yeah, I mean, and she just wormed her queen into h3. Idea is that she's not really worried about g5. But instead, Fabi has quickly played rook e1. He's still at a major time deficiency here.
Yeah. Well, now rook e2 can be played. Transition the f pawn into an e pawn. Yeah, she goes for that. That looks pretty accurate, and I think she's going to go on to score here. It looks like this is getting more and more dangerous. b5 can be played now, just to defend the threats of maybe the queen on this diagonal.
Well, there's still bishop b3, but she's played rook to f8, trying to create some threats. Also, notice the bishop on f4 is hanging. Immediate queen d7 from Fabiano.
Down on time, he's got to play fast. What about just queen g2 here? Is it possible for the black queen to just come to the second rank and force white's hand there?
You're saying there's no threats here for white. I mean, I would agree. It doesn't look like there's a single weakness in Hou Yifan's camp. But she is losing a little bit of her time advantage, Danny.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Although, okay, she finds maybe an even more straightforward way to punch things through. I mean, now there's millions of moves here, including king h8. And she goes, I think that's the most simple way to take care of business here. Go get a queen on f1, and I think Fabiano's just going to throw in the towel, to be honest. Yeah, there he goes. Well,
and
wow.
There you go.
She strikes.
Wow. I hope nobody wrote Hou Yifan off after those first 2 losses, because she just came back in a nice style in that game.
Not only that, she wins with black, and so if she has as good of a game as she did the first time as white, where I think she did pretty well, she could be in position to level the score here. And we have 50 minutes left on the clock, so that's still plenty of time here in the 5-minute portion. For those of you just joining us, welcome to the 2017 Speed Chess Championship.
So don't castle queenside in the Nimzo Indian.
Don't castle queenside in the Nimzo Indian. Yeah.
That was definitely ambitious. You know, it felt like Fabi had such success in the first few games. He was trying to kind of like have like an absolute wipeout, and it backfired. But I think that's good. That's good for us, because it's making the match a little bit tighter.
Yeah, he pushed his luck there a little bit with that super aggressive queenside castles there. But once bishop a6 came on the board, it was like, uh-oh, white has problems. So what do we have here? We've got a French, no longer an e5 move by black. So first time we've seen a French. We'll see if it's the last. I think if white gets a big win here, I'm always biased against the French. I always feel like white is just better in the French, and even when they're not, I think that's a problem I need to work on. But anyway, I like white here. I like the threat of f5 coming. But okay, this is a pretty typical Tarrasch French, and I guess black has plenty of play on the queenside. Moves like bishop a6 are going to appear on the board, and we have a game.
Yeah, very close game, which is always fun to see in Blitz, because then it starts to get wild just when both of the players only have like 2 minutes on the clock or 1 minute on the clock. So I like to see that, and I think that it's a great decision by Fabiano. I think this won't be the last French that we see this match.
So you play the French then?
No, I don't like it at all.
Oh.
I don't like playing against it either. I think it's a wise choice for a player who really likes tactics and who just beat you in a real nice tactical game.
Right. Well, now the knight's coming into c4, so white puts the kibosh on that idea, but the problem with b3 is really that it undermines the c3 pawn. So in a lot of variations now, as many know, the idea in the French is once black has established this big pawn chain, you want to undermine the dark square pawns and get all the space you could ask for over there. So I don't know if b takes c3 isn't necessary right away, Jen. Okay, he plays it. I was going to say maybe even bishop a6 first, but you suddenly start to see that b3 is a move again, like we wish we could play back, right? We wish we could play b3, b2 in a lot of positions, but now I think the dark squares are going to start to fall apart here for white. Okay, still white's doing fine. Bishop a6, bring the rook over to c1 or d1. Rook f2, apparently. So where does black play now? Maybe black has a new target on b3 with something like a4 coming in a position after dealing with this pressure here. Maybe queen to d7, but I think at some point maybe black tries to play a4 and open up new lines for the queen side.
Yeah, this is an interesting position where it has started to open up. You notice there's all sorts of different ideas here for black, like playing on the c file, playing for a4, maybe even playing for a piece coming into d3. So there's kind of a lot to think about here for black.
Yeah, and he's thinking about it. Time is about even, but yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, knight b4 is looking better and better. If you can bring the knight to b4 and have threats like knight to d3, it
looks a bit artificial somehow. Like, where am I going to do one? I guess once I go to d3, I can always consider coming back to c5 and e4.
Right.
So yeah, that makes me like it a bit more.
And I guess the main thing is you got to deal with the threat on c6 either way, either defend the knight or move the knight at this point. And I don't think black wants to trade and bring white's bishop to d4.
Yeah, because that's like a gorgeous spot for your bishop because it does everything. It defends your knight on c3. It stops. It puts pressure on my knight on b6. It's
Oh,
just
wow. Well, right as we say that, Fabiano goes for
yeah.
it. I guess we'll see what the follow-up is.
Well, he probably just didn't like knight b4, but yeah, rook c8 immediately. Now, what are we gonna do after just like queen e3 or something?
And I keep coming back to wondering if white can punch f5 through. I mean, every time you do it, you're all in on the attack, and maybe e5 becomes more vulnerable. In this situation, you might also open up the bishop on g5. But at some point, white wants to try to get aggressive on the king side. So she plays queen e3 here. I like that battery, and I wonder how long it's going to take before she tries to start getting back to some sort of counterplay on the king side.
Yeah, so I like this queen e3 move, getting some control, and then thinking about your move f5.
F5 now is still met by bishop g5, and maybe that's what she doesn't like. She doesn't want that bishop coming in and posing an awkward question to the queen. So rook d1. Rook d1's nice. I mean, there may be tactics at some point of bringing the knight to e4 if the queen remains on d8. Okay.
So knight d7, getting out of the way, and
Okay, here we go.
she plays f5.
Yeah, okay, f5 comes. I mean, this is what white wants to do here. The queen's going to either go to e1 or f3. Okay, I like e1 better. And one of the big problems here for everyone is that if the e6 pawn just sits, then okay, clearly it's a big target now. But if you ever take f5, white's probably capturing on d5 and not even taking back on f5 right away, which is kind of a key point. Just like black tried to undermine the c and the d pawns, everybody, that's what white's trying to do with f5 by undermining e6 is maybe this d pawn becomes a problem. So I like white's chances if she can somehow open up some play here on the light squares. Probably taking e6 is something I want to do rather than trying to push f6, Jen. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think we want to keep some open lines because our pieces are really well poised as white if the position opens up, or just maintain the tension because taking an f5 looks like a real bad idea for black because it's the pawn on d5. So rather than like commit to f6, I think I want to maintain the tension. But how do I improve my position here as white? That's the question. And those bishops are doing a good job of controlling some really key squares, the ones on g5 and a6, right?
Yeah, I agree. Well, she's gone into a think here, and so the risk with that is obviously she only has 2 minutes now, about 40 seconds behind on the clock. Settles on. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to say bishop g2 is a really interesting move because it puts into this position some ideas of bishop takes d5 in certain situations. And also, there's this h4 followed by a quick g4, switching from a piece attack on the king side to a pawn storm.
Yeah, I like that. I really like the threat of h4. That's nice because if black just makes some sort of natural move here, everybody, h4 comes, and I said no f6, but if the bishop came back to e7 and you could punch a move like f6 through with tempo, suddenly black has some problems. And I think Fabiano maybe kind of, senses, yeah. So he plays king h8, and I expect the bishop to go all the way back to d8. Now, okay, no, he's going to invite it. He's inviting f6. I guess he's saying that if you play f6, I can take, and I've now cleared the g file with my last move. So suddenly the g3 pawn and the move like rook g8 coming in, maybe he's okay.
But bishop d5 is another possibility in all these situations we're constantly having to be vigilant of. I guess right now it still doesn't work that well because you can just take and play queen d8, and then after f6, I don't know. You have to analyze that situation.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now as you're talking about it for the fans, and I agree with you. This is super dynamic because after f6 takes, even if a move like bishop d6, you have knight e7 coming in, and that knight can't be captured without opening up the bishop on d4 for a discovered check. So I would bet that she's thinking about your bishop takes d5 idea here, Jen. That looks that's the kind of all-in move I would play, probably a little bit too quickly. Okay, she decides to go for something more solid, but I think that was an interesting shot for sure.
Yeah, well, she still has an attack here without sacrificing a piece, so that's probably what she's thinking.
Right.
But now the knight on c3 is under capture, so just play knight a4, which it seems like there's a wrong direction, Danny.
I agree. Something feels like that last moment was a critical moment, whether it was bishop takes d5 or something else. But the moment the minor pieces start to get traded, everybody, you start to believe in black's attack a little less. And,
or white's attack.
White's attack a little less, yeah. And
and also the knight just going to a4 when you really want it somehow participating in an attack, because that's where your advantage is. And note now that we've got some issues on e5, so that's why Hou Yifan played this move rook e1. And no, it's not that I don't like white, I just don't like white as much as I liked white before.
Yeah, agreed.
So, Fabi now, you could consider the move bishop b5, thinking that after he removes that knight on a4, there's moves like rook c3 and queen c5, trying to kind of encroach into her position. So Hou Yifan has played queen f4. The kingside attack is still on the menu.
Yeah, and I guess she may come back to trying to get f6, right?
Or taking on e6, because you can't take back with the pawn because there's queen takes f8, mating.
Ah, that's nice. Yeah, we'll see if he misses that. But assuming Fabiano doesn't miss that tactic, the attack is on. But over the last few moves, I'm starting to get a feel like black is an accurate defensive move or two away toward the c file becoming the main thing, and he also has this passed d pawn on d5. So starting to get a little more worried for white's position here. But Fabiano's struggling to find something against this threat. Ends up settling on queen to d8.
That's right, because bishop a4, we might have thrown in takes on e6 as an in-between move. So queen d8, shutting it down, that particular idea.
Guarding the rook on f8. Okay.
Now queen d4. Now she's trying to get her knight back into play with knight c3. That knight on a4 is so horribly offsides.
Yeah, and if I was Fabiano, I would look for a chance to take that knight and then continue to simplify out the position. Okay, queen to e7, also a good potential threat, because now there's ideas like queen coming into c5, maybe coming into b4, and I think if you get the queens off the board here, if you're black, all your worries about getting checkmated go away, and you can now focus on your passed d5 pawn and the open c file. So
we've got some trades in the game now. Takes an f8. Note that we can never play rook f1 because the bishop can take on f1. Fabi deciding which way to recapture here. Well, taking with the queen. It doesn't look like we've got any strong ideas on d5 at the moment. Maybe I can play knight e4 though, just improve the position of my knight, because
I like this move, knight e4. The main point, everybody, is if it's captured, queen takes d7 is much better for white. So. Okay, she doesn't go for that. I wonder why, because to me the knight might have been able to head into d6 and have a nice outpost square. But okay, she's heading into f4 where she can hit the e6 pawn. And
that would be too good.
Yeah, Fabiano says no thank you. Gets rid of that knight. But now we're in a time scramble. The first real test where a close to equal position with both sides with very, very little time on the clock. We'll see who manages themselves better here.
Yeah, I was going to say that I liked Hou Yifan's chances.
Well, I don't know who I like here. I mean, I like the bishop versus the knight because the e6 pawn is on a light square, but the e5 pawn is also hanging right now and in a number of other positions.
But look at that king. I mean, that supersized king of Hou Yifan.
Yeah.
And with the pawn on b3 stopping anything from contesting it.
Yeah, that was a super strong idea. You could tell Fabiano paused to think if he could get away with taking the e5 pawn, because you're not happy letting that king come all the way to d4 in an endgame like this.
Yeah, but she's got 2 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah,
and this move knight b8.
Oh wow, she played that move with literally 0.4 seconds as she went from 0.4 to 2.4. So that was a problem there, and now she's continuing to be under fire here, literally living off the increment. Trying to find accurate moves. Bishop takes d5 as a move here. She doesn't go for it.
Yeah, I think there probably would have been some kind of reasonable defense there. But now this king coming to d4 doesn't seem that strong anymore. There's always...
She's going to lose the e5 pawn, but she does get the b4 pass pawn. This should be winning for black with the 2 pass pawns, but I don't know if it's so simple. See if there's some kind of way to get counterplay with the b pawn before the 2 pass pawns run up the board. But looks like Fabiano's getting there just in time.
Yeah, I mean, those pawns are so strong. We're going to gain another tempo.
Wow. well, what's happening? Okay, he's all in. He's got to sacrifice the rook. Looks like she has no choice, likely. Calculating and realizing probably that the pawns are going to be too much for the tower. Yeah, this is...
Yeah, with that king coming in, it's sad because, her king was the one who was so powerful just a few moves ago, and now it's the opposite way.
Yeah, but fantastic technique there by Fabiano, finding a way to patiently poke and prod, and in the end, I think time was as much of a factor in that victory for Fabiano as the board. Yifan just didn't have enough time to continue finding accurate moves in that dynamic endgame.
Wow, this is just so funny because I just did commentary in the St. Louis Rapid and Blitz where there was like 10-minute breaks between each Blitz game, and some of the players were saying like that's a bit too long because it's hard for them to get the momentum when they're doing well.
Right.
And this is like the exact opposite. There's like 0-second break.
Right.
I love it. It's just fun to think about the psychological impact here of the Blitz. But honestly, I think both players are not at all upset with their play because even though Hou Yifan's down 1 out of 4, she played some good chess. There's been like really 0 horrible blunders so far.
Right.
So I hope both of their confidence will be high and we'll continue to see great games.
Well, we have another slightly obscure queen's pawn game as far as the move order goes. You don't see both sides giving up their bishop this early in the game, black giving up the dark square bishop, and now white has kind of like a Nimzo Indian again, where you've played queen c2 and queen takes c3 like a classical Nimzo, but not a traditional approach from black. So just strange. This is the interesting structure they've now played a couple times.
Well, I would play the same thing. I think it's a great idea for Hou Yifan to play this again because maybe Fabi will just queenside castle again. Because that turned out so poorly for him last time we were in this variation, right?
Yeah,
so
really. Yeah, that was
maybe she's hoping that he'll be stubborn and go for something hyper aggressive and give her a chance to get her game going. But I think it's going to look a little different this game. And it looks like we've got a lot of superstars in the chat as always. I saw your co-host from yesterday, Anna Rudolph, online, as well as Grandmaster Ben Feingold. So it's great to see the kind of international attention that these speed chess matches command, Danny.
Yeah, I like Yifan's position, and I think strategically a little bit biased just because I play a Nimzo Indian as black often, but it feels like the closed position is going to be okay. She's going to play a move like b6 here and strive for bishop a6 again, similar to last game. The queen on f6 is a little weird, right? You don't normally see that. And now she has to play bishop d7 to guard the a4 pawn. Is there some outside chances that queen on f6 gets in trouble if bishop g5 comes in and something crazy? No. Fabiano says I'm just going to play c5 here and counterplay on the queen side.
Yeah, and where is his king planning to go? Is it planning to just chill in the center? Because if she wants to, she can try bishop b5 here, stopping castling. But of course, black has a way to go to castle as well, and Fabi could always change his mind and stick his bishop back on d3.
Mm-hmm.
So she just continued her development with knight e7.
It's just strange to me because I keep thinking that, okay, he doesn't go for it again, but I mean, was there a reason why you don't want to go for something with bishop g5 and takes on e7 to take away the right for black to castle?
Maybe there was something like queen g6, bishop e7, queen g2 in between.
But, no, because there was rook g1 in that line, yeah. and the queen is guarding the knight on f3. It was interesting.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe, yeah, I don't know. I don't know the reason for that.
Well, right away after Fabiano chooses not to play bishop g5 and go for that line, Yifan says not going to give you another chance and actually played the move h6 to stop bishop g5. So I don't know, interesting there, but I think that it's hard sometimes to calculate the tactics when the pieces are on obscure positions. Even if the structure is something you've kind of seen before, you don't normally see tactics with the bishop coming to g5 and skewering a queen and knight on e7, at least not in blitz, so you maybe sometimes miss opportunities.
Hey, we haven't started Chess 960 yet, but you're talking like we have.
I know, it seems that way, right? I mean, some of the pieces in this line are just not normal, but now it's getting...
Yeah, this move queen g6 allows us to play takes on d6 and knight e5 potentially.
Yeah, that's a straightforward tactic that would win a pawn. At the end of the line, you have to look at bishop h3, though, with the g2 pawn being pinned to the king, and maybe actually looks like black
Really good.
yeah, black maybe gets enough of an attack there, but I'm sure Fabiano was calculating something like that right now.
That's right. So basically what you're saying is just take okay, I see your analysis board. Yeah, takes twice on d6 and then play bishop h3.
Right.
And that looks good for black indeed. Takes on d6 immediately. You can't play queen takes d6 because of bishop c5. So instead, it looks like Fabi's kind of prepare that move potentially for the future.
Right. Rook c1. Bishop h3 is no longer any good now. I think white can just play moves like either knight e1 or even knight h4, and black doesn't get what he wants out of that, or what she wants out of that. So, but it seems like Yifan has some things to figure out here. I mean, you start to see the knight on a5 is weird. The d6 pawn is under fire. Okay, she goes for bishop h3 and knight e1, but I don't think it solves all of black's problems of having some weird things going on. I mean, the a4 pawn is just hanging now. All right, well, that means she's all in. She plays f5, and she's trying to get an attack.
Yeah, that's right. She's trying to just play f4, bishop g2, and then f3. What exactly do we do against that? Once we get our pawn to f4, I guess you can just play f3. So that's one of the reasons why Fabi played this move, bishop b6.
Yeah, I like it.
Without having to be provoked to it with f4, which would create some really exciting tactical possibilities. Now f4 is too little too late because you just close the shop down with f3.
Right.
Not even calculating bishop takes a5, bishop g2, knight g2, f3.
Yeah. No, I think you just play f3, and this looks like a King's Indian gone wrong for black. White is way ahead of the race, and having broken through on the queen side, it looks like Yifan's going to have way too many problems to figure out here.
Yeah, why couldn't she play f4 last move before recapturing on d6? I wonder. But yeah, something to think about. Maybe there was just a take on e7 or something was probably just good. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but you're right, though. It's something to look at because realizing the position is now sort of desperate for black, she has to find something ultra aggressive to keep the balance. Otherwise, I think this is almost over. Okay, she's just going to give up the pawn. I think here Fabiano's debating between either rook c7 or queen takes b3, because queen takes b3 is not bad. It also threatens the bishop on h3 over there, but if you could play rook to c7, maybe that's even more accurate and continue to stay aggressive.
Or maybe even bishop c7 is another possibility.
Right.
It seems like there's hardly any attacking potential for black because of this only idea that I can see. Well, maybe there's also takes on e4 as well. And then I don't know, it seems really slow, but takes on e4 and like knight f5 or something.
Yeah.
Because f4 we definitely can't do. It's out of the question when you can shut down the party with f3.
Yeah.
So we're left with ideas of taking on e4.
And I still think that after looking at those options, I feel like queen takes b3 just makes even more sense. It seems like the best move because you threaten to take the bishop on h3 with the queen, and then if bishop g4, then you have f3. Okay, it looks like we're getting that line. Yeah, I think queen takes b3 made the most sense there, and as much as we would like to stay aggressive. And now I think that Fabiano can play f3, kind of solidify his defensive situation, support e4, and then get back to work on the queen side. So I like his approach here. I'm guessing his moves, which means there's something wrong. But no, it looks like white is in control, and I think that Yifan's going to be in trouble here.
Yeah, this is an unfortunate game indeed. It didn't seem like she could really get her attack going in this game. And as we can see from the game 3 that she won, when she gets it going really good, right? But
something went wrong into the opening with this one, and finally rook c7 comes in. The b7 pawn's going to fall, and I think, okay, maybe we'll see rook f7 here by Yifan, just so she can bring the other rook to f8 and kind of really be all in. Yeah, she agrees this is her last chance, but I doubt it's going to be enough. I mean, okay, if you play rook f7, rook takes b7, you double rooks on the f-file, maybe at some point here black's looking to capture on e4 and bust things open, but you feel like it's just too much, and Fabiano takes on f5 early just to kind of say, yeah, that's not going to happen. I'm not going to let that
Yeah,
happen.
yeah, definitely. So always some practical chances though when both players only have a minute left on the clock.
Yeah,
As
for
as
sure.
we saw yesterday with Nepo and Levon, there were all sorts of twists and turns
All
as the
sorts of
players
blunders
get
under time
down.
pressure. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you find deciding now which way to capture back on f7. Both have their definite deficiencies. King takes f7,
Yeah,
exposing the
but
king.
it looks like there's a fork coming on g4. So, I mean, she doesn't want to take with the king, but she might have to because if queen takes, is there just a move like g4? Looks like it might be coming.
Yeah, that does look pretty strong, Danny. I don't know what to do because
Okay, yeah, he goes for it.
h6, you just have king h1,
Yep, king
right?
h1, and as one of my teammates just said in the chat, fork town.
Well,
And
knight g2 even stronger, it
yeah,
seems.
even stronger. And I think Yifan's gonna probably try her hand in the next game because this looks like it's now out of chances. Okay, maybe she plays bishop takes g4 here and gets a couple pawns and plays a few more moves, but I think it's over. If bishop g4 was played takes, queen takes, then there was just queen f3 anyway. So yeah. All right. Well, it's tough. Yeah, I don't exactly know what. Not strong enough to know exactly where it went wrong for black, but from the beginning you could feel it was a slightly awkward version of some positions we might see otherwise, like a Nimzo, and then you get this pawn chain for a kingside attack. But felt like black's position never quite caught up, and eventually just got crushed because of this early c5 idea that Fabiano played. I really think that was kind of a key strong move when he played move c5 on move 12. That all of a sudden black was just on her heels.
Yeah, it was a really tough game. Definitely not one of the closer games that we saw in this match, Danny.
Yep,
This is
agreed.
like I think if you watch the first four games of this match, you could say like, she definitely has a chance. She's been playing some good moves and Fabi's just playing above the rim, but I wouldn't say that about this last game.
Yeah, that's agreed. Not the best one so far, but she gets white again in the next one. Fabiano will be back to work with the black pieces, assuming that he takes care of business here. I think it's just a matter of a few seconds. And, okay, made that move with 0.2 seconds on the clock. As we could see, she got 2.2. All right.
The game is still going on. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a
Never
lot
know.
of decisive chess over the last 48 hours, Jen. Yesterday, we only had 6 draws in the 27 games played total between Nepomniachtchi and Levon Aronian. I don't know if that was a record. Mike Klein will check on that for us, Mr. Statboy. But I think only 6 draws in 27 games was about as a big decisive percentage as we've ever had. And today we've had no draws so far at all. This is about to be our 5th decisive game as soon as Fabiano takes care of business here. So, yeah, we've had no draws so far. Decisive chess being played, which is always fun for the fans, and we'll see if Yifan can strike back here now that she gets the first move. Fabiano rotating his position a lot. Yifan is not quite Pentala Hari Krishna level. I don't know if you remember last year's event, Jen, but Pentala Hari Krishna was so still on camera, it almost felt like he was a statue. Like he didn't blink for an hour and a half. It was insane. And today, Fabiano's moving around a lot to the point where we can't ever quite see him clearly on camera. But Yifan, has she lowered her left hand on her cheek the entire day?
Oh, there's gonna be like a little mark on her cheek at the end of the day.
There
It
might
means
be.
that.
That happens though.
So this started out as a con Sicilian, and now we're headed into a hedgehog type structure for black. And yeah, I gotta or like a more like it looks like some kind of Moroxy bindish position where the knight is on f3 instead of on d4. So bishop f4, very early bishop f4 by Hou Yifan, but knight
Yeah.
e5 is usually a good response to that move because you don't really want to take on e5 and just because the thing that white has going for her in this position is she's got more space, right?
Yeah.
So trades really benefit black's superb structure.
One of the ideas of this, I mean, there's some lines in the Con Sicilian where the bishop is here. You play something like h3 to make sure that bishop doesn't go anywhere on that diagonal, and then you slowly work toward kind of building up the pressure on the e5 knight so it can't stay there. Things like h3, b3 to guard c4, you double rooks on the d file, and eventually maybe even try to relocate the knight from f3 to play f4. So, okay, it's kind of a slow plan in the Maroczy bind, but this d6 pawn is weaker here than it would normally be in like a hedgehog Maroczy bind, right? Because that bishop is on g7 instead of e7 guarding it. So I've seen ideas like this with the bishop on f4, but you're right. It is awkward for white here because black has sort of firmly put that knight on e5 and it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, and you can't really easily put any other pressure on d6. I mean, that's why it's so difficult to play against the structure in blitz, because it's like, even though you feel like, oh, white should be a little better, it feels like you're heading against a wall sometimes. Bishop e3 was Hou Yifan's choice, attacking the pawn on b6, quick rook b8 by Fabi, and now after knight takes on e5. Interesting choice here for Fabi. He could even consider taking out with the pawn and having.
I think that is much better. Yeah, I think that. Yeah. Surprising, maybe initially to some of our beginner chess players, voluntarily taking on the double pawns, but a really instructive idea to show that when you have double pawns in the center, they often control some of the most critical squares. So that's kind of the key point. And when they're not on an open file, they're not really targets either, right? It's not like these are isolated double pawns on an open file. So a really nice move, I think, to take with the d pawn, eliminating the d6 weakness. And now this pony's going to hop into d4. And I'm already starting to like black's position again.
Yeah, I love it when you get this. Like it's kind of like tough here because you can, when you're black here, you don't have a lot of space, and you can start breathing a sigh of relief as you have this pawn on e5 because you know that you're just going to own the d4 square.
And we may have to check Fabiano for some kind of stimulants after the match, as he just put something in his mouth, looked like some Advil. Maybe he's got a headache. No, I'm kidding. He's got a headache, but he just opened some sort of pill bottle and put it in his mouth. I'm sure that Anton Squared Me on Twitter is already making a gif about that one.
Oh yeah, I bet. I still wanted to make any more gifs about me. The last one.
Yeah, he goes to town. He made a gif yesterday about me because I wasn't currently following him on Twitter, and he went a little over the top with the drama. I'm not gonna lie. He can be a bit over the top.
One. I did see that one, Godfather.
Yeah, the Godfather.
But in any case, they did do a study. I saw it on FIDE's website that the only stimulants that were shown to improve chess performance were like coffee and like something like Adderall, but it was like by a very small amount. So kind of what you would expect, like coffee is good for chess.
Right. All right, well, the transition in the center has opened things up. We've got still equal pawns, but a whole bunch of weird pawns. This is something we learned right in Hans Kamak, pawn power in chess. You've got a bunch of pawn islands. You've got doubled weak pawns for white on the queen side. You've got this isolated b6 pawn and doubled pawns for black on the e file. So a strange structure, but one where I think we kind of like black just because the bishop pair for black means that as the position becomes more open, likely black has the better set of minor pieces. And also the b pawns seem to be a little weaker. Do you agree? I think black's a little better here.
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to assess this position because the structure is so weird. But yeah, this move that Fabiano played so confidently, queen b4, does look pretty good.
And we finally see Fabiano's face on camera. It's a celebration that we can see both players for the moment.
It's just annoying. I don't have a good way to defend b3 because, I was thinking after rook c3.
e4?
Well, the thing about e4 is I'm giving away all these key squares, After bishop d4, it seems that my pieces have suddenly improved a ton. So he starts with f4, and maybe now e4 that you've pushed the bishop back.
Yeah, I agree, but f4 seems like a weird decision, and maybe not as counter-positional as I first think, because it's not Bughouse. I can't just pop a knight on e4. But I like this move rook d3 by Yifan. I feel like if she can relocate this knight to e4, blocking the e5 pawn, Fabiano might regret this move f4.
Yeah, I thought he was going to try to play an immediate e4, but he probably didn't like it for tactical reasons. So now queen c5, and then your idea to simply play knight c3 here. Yeah,
I have a hard time feeling like black is still better here. The knight comes to c3, and here comes the knight into e4, and I feel like, yeah, here, and she's following that line. I don't really agree with Fabiano's approach here, and I'm starting to like White's positional chances, because if that pawn on e5 gets stuck, then that bishop on g7 is not nearly as good of a piece as it could have been before.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if we can, at some point, if we can play some combination of e4 and rook d8 somehow here. If we play rook d8 immediately, what do you do?
Yeah, well, he goes for it. We're going to find out, because you're right. Now okay, bishop e1 is nice, right? Because that ensures that at least she's going to stand a fighting chance to hold the d-file. Oh, wow, rook d4. That's a nice move. You're inviting White to take here, everybody, and that would undouble the e-pawns and improve Black's center control. And if you don't take on d4, the problem is now Black owns the file and will be able to double freely with rook f to d8. So kind of an instructive point there to see rook to d4. I wonder what she'll do. Maybe knight a4?
And you also can't play knight e4 because we can capture it.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if there's some ideas, Jen, of something like knight a4, gain a tempo on the queen, and once it moves, maybe then bishop c3 and kind of force the issue. Okay, she plays knight a4. We'll see if I'm... but queen d6 prevents my bishop c3 idea.
Yeah, because we are just attacking your rook on d3, exactly. So you gotta...
Maybe you gotta trade on d4 even though you don't want to, and then...
Or you could play queen e2 or something as well.
She goes for that, but here comes rook f d8, right? And then she's gonna be forced to trade likely anyway.
Yeah, the question will be reiterated.
But I still think White's okay here, and she's up a little bit on time. I mean, if we look at analysis like rook d4, or sorry, rook f d8, rook takes d4 takes, maybe the bishop comes to f2 where it hits d4 and behind it b6. Oh wow, she plays rook d2. I like that even better. Just kind of, playing chicken here. She's not going to blink first, and she's going to try to stare down Black on the d-file.
Well, yeah, she doesn't like the structural changes that come after rook takes d4, so she plays this just retreating move, which would escape the vision of a lot of people, but it makes sense. That's where her bishop is, and she's got enough control there. But still, you got to figure there might be something here for Bobbi. What about trying to get the move e4 in?
Yeah, I was going to say, dynamically, maybe you got to go in and go all in on e4. And if you don't play e4, Jen, then probably that knight on a4 comes back to c3, and maybe you lose your chance. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's what he's thinking about. Despite being under a minute, maybe he kind of senses a critical moment and needs to find something here.
Yeah, but the thing about e4 is, which way are you going to take back? If I capture on e4, what's your plan?
I hadn't gotten that far yet. I don't know. I don't know. Okay.
I was thinking maybe there was bishop e4, just queen e4.
Yeah, just take with the queen. You're right. So Fabiano gets the queen off of that file, maybe because of that.
So maybe he's going to, yeah, now after bishop f2, we see a quick trade on d2.
But this is getting better and better for Yifan. I mean, not only on the clock, but look at how she's outplayed him here. I mean, really, she has, because that d-file pressure was real, and she defended off the lions there, and she's going to pick up the b6 pawn and be better in this endgame.
But there's still tactics to deal with. Let's see, bishop e5 here. He's banking on the fact that the two bishops are going to provide some counter chances.
Yeah.
Which way are you going to take on b6? You're going to take with the knight?
I was originally thinking that, but now I'm looking at it. Maybe I can take with the bishop, but I think taking with the knight makes the most sense, Jen, because maybe then there's threats like queen d7, and I can try to start simplifying the position. So I kind of like knight takes. Certainly, you're right. I mean, if Black is able to gobble the e4 pawn, maybe bring the queen to g5, I mean, there are things to worry about here as the bishop pair get active in the center, but I feel like some accurate moves, and she does have more time, so I'm confident whatever the best approach is here, she's going to find it. Because, again, we always talk about time, and it's clear to see time when it's a problem, but when you have more time in the critical moment, it should, stand to reason you'll likely be able to find the best moves. And I think she's probably calculating these variations now, so she goes for knight takes.
Knight takes b6 is definitely more natural. I like that because it's tempting to play bishop b6, threatening the liquidating queen d8. But this move looks really more in keeping with the feeling of the position. So queen g4 check. She's the first one to invade, and Fabi's king now.
Yeah, I think he's got to go king f7, even though he doesn't want to, because if king h8, I'll just take e6, and you don't have time to take g2 because I'm threatening queen takes e5.
That's what happened.
Yeah, they're going for it, but I really like Yufan's chances now. I think she's going to get this one. The knight on b6 can also come into d5, Jen, and maybe white launches a mating attack. Knight d5 here. Bishop can't take g2 anymore, and then the knight's threatening to come to e7. So I think if she finds knight d5, she's in good shape.
Yes, and she's also still got that huge lead on the clock. So.
Yeah.
She can also just play queen e8 check and queen d7 if she wants.
Yeah, this move is also interesting. Look at that. Double attack of bishop d4 check simplifying and queen f8 mate, everybody. Yeah, now she'll play bishop d4 check and just eliminate. I think she'll just eliminate black's chances by getting rid of that dark square bishop. Unless she has something better. I mean, she's looking. Okay, she decides she has something better.
Yeah, this looks very... I mean, the black king is just so horribly exposed, right?
Yeah. Maybe queen g5. Nope, she continues for the attack here. She's assuming she gets this one with the accurate move she's played. It really feels like she's managed her time well, Jen. Like when she's had an advantage, she used her time in those positions to really convert accurately. In the 2 victories she has gotten in this match, again, assuming she goes on to get this one, I feel like she's managed her time well in those critical moments.
Yeah, this is definitely an impressive game indeed, because it looked like Fabiano's pressure on the d file did look very scary, and then she came up with this rook d2 idea, which stymied it, and it seemed so passive on the surface, but actually it was just a good move that was hard for him to pressure against.
Yeah, now she's putting on some technique for the fans, right? Showing them how to win a bishop ending like this, slowly taking her time, making this pass pawn here. Now she's going to run over here and get yet another pawn under fire. That's called the principle of 2 weaknesses, everybody. Establish an advantage on one side of the board. Oh, did she just blunder into zugzwang, though? Whoa, that could have been a huge blunder there with king to b4. Look at the trick Fabiano laid. Wow, super tricky.
But there is this little save here that... but there's just bishop e7. Oh, no.
I mean, she's probably still winning, actually.
Okay. There was a bunch of moves that went by really fast there. So.
Yeah, but I think she's actually still winning, luckily. But yeah, the king b4 and king d5, I wonder how early Fabiano saw that shot, because that was a super little tricky defensive resource there.
Now she's going to come into b7. So that's why Fabi played a5 himself.
Yeah, and she's going to be able to pick up this pawn with tempo. Bishop c3. She'll take it with tempo. And then after the bishop moves, she should be able to play moves like bishop d8 and guard the f6 square, preventing the king from getting it. So I think Fabiano is still lost here. Okay, so Fabiano sees that idea coming. He knows that if takes, he can play bishop e5, and bishop d8 shouldn't work. Okay, but she has this move king c4, and then if king f6, bishop c3 forces the trade. Yeah, she found it.
There it is.
Yep. I think this one's finally in the books once she gets bishop c3, yeah. Okay, impressive, Jen. Wow, really great play there by Yifan, and she strikes there with only 10 minutes left here in the 5-minute portion. We have a match, everybody. That was, when she's won, she has really outplayed Fabiano from start to finish. As you said, the situation on the d-file was tricky, but she made her way through that complicated middle game to win the endgame.
And the thing I love most about the way she's playing is that even when she loses a really bad game, she just comes back firing the next game as if nothing happened. So she's not getting rattled or tilted, as we say in poker. So that really bodes well for the rest of this match. As we saw yesterday, the key is keep it within 2 points so that when we reach that bullet section, anything can happen.
Yep. I think I lost the bet, Jen. I had a bet it wouldn't take more than 60 minutes for you to get a first poker reference in, but it was nearly 90 minutes before you referenced poker, so I owe Matt $5 for that one. So,
all right.
For those of you who don't know or don't follow Jen Shahadi on Twitter, she's also do you consider yourself still kind of a semi-professional poker player, or not as much anymore?
Yeah, luckily, yes, I have a baby now, but luckily there's a lot of poker in my area, and I am still the Mind Sports ambassador for PokerStars. So yeah, it's great. Gotta love both games. But in this game, What do we got here? It looks like we've got a typical situation where we've got an English and white. The position's actually pretty symmetrical, and white's got an extra tempo. So will he be able to get anything out of it?
Uh, yeah, I mean it's a symmetrical structure, but you kind of like White's position with the bishop on g2. Maybe there's tactics there, but I don't see anything concrete at this time. Sometimes what's deceptive about these positions is it looks like it's just going to be equal because there's no pawn, weaknesses for either side. It's a structural, very simple position, but suddenly everything gets traded and white ends up owning the d file, and a rook comes to d7 and you're losing in the endgame. I've lost some games like that. So black has to be careful that everything doesn't just get traded and white ends up controlling these d and c files. Apparently, your main game these days is Chinese open face poker. Is that true?
I played a lot of open face Chinese poker the last few years.
Okay.
The last year or so, I'm kind of going back to the classic, know them and hold them in some other mixed games.
You're also, I think, the first person ever to do a simul of playing bullet or blitz chess while playing poker. For those of you who haven't seen that video, Jen played on Chess.com and played poker at the same time. So that was funny. But all right, enough poker references. Knight to d2 is played. Fabiano's going to try to support that position on e5 with either knight to c4 or knight f3. But Yifan should be okay here. I think that black can usually deal with these tactics in a safe way, although after takes e5, I guess the worry is you can't just play bishop d6, Jen, is because there would be some trades and then something like knight c4. But
look at this nice liquidating move, knight e3.
Wow.
If you capture on b7, your queen is hanging, so you have to take back on e3.
There's no way Fabiano saw that move coming, Jen. We got to show that on the analysis board because that looks like a really strong tactic for Yifan. In fact, so much so that he's going to sack the queen.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Show everybody what would have happened there because the tactic is so fast. If taken here, what Jen was saying is after check, black is able to get rid of this bishop with check before then regaining the knight, and black just used that whole combination to go into an endgame up a clear pawn. So knight e3 was a really, really nice combination and a shot that I'm sure Fabiano missed.
Now, this forces kind of counter-sacrifice here from Fabi, where he's got, a rook and a piece he doesn't have the rook yet, but he's going to win that rook on a8, right?
Yep.
So he's going to end up with a rook and a piece for the queen, which shouldn't be enough, but it'll be interesting.
One of the things that Mike mentioned in his preview article is Fabiano's willingness to sack the queen in kind of a tough position. He seems to be sort of loose with that idea in the sense that, okay, if he misses something, he's not afraid to go for an imbalance and play with the pieces versus the queen. And Mike had some really interesting examples of that. I had to mention it, one, because Mike's preview article was good, and two, because that's our first queen sack of the match.
Yeah, I love the article by Mike. And, it's funny that you mentioned it because I just had so much fun playing over that game of Hou Yifan versus Boria Eider, where she was the one who sacked the queen. Yeah. And it was funny how he showed kind of the synchronicity of that and Caruana's famous victory against Nakamura with the queen sack. And now we've got a queen sack in their game.
Our first one, although according to my staff member who has the engine running offline and just gives me periodic updates, he says according to the analysis, the engine's comfortably like black here to be able to have an edge with the queen. But okay, a rook and a knight is a rook and a knight, and it takes some technique. If you can coordinate the two pieces properly, it's not easy for the queen to get going. Normally what you want here, everybody, if you have the queen, is to find a way to get her in the center on open lines as quickly as possible. The sooner she gets in squares like this, where she can poke at things on both sides of the board, the sooner the queen can kind of flex her muscles and outplay the rook in the minor piece.
Yeah, the two games that were referenced in that preview article are actually like two minor pieces versus a queen. So obviously, but they were also more brilliant and inspired. In this case, Fabiano Caruana felt compelled to sacrifice the queen. He didn't really go into it intentionally thinking he was going to be better.
Yep.
And so this nice move by Hou Yifan. She knows that in order to win with the queen, what's good about the queen? We get to attack.
Yep.
So we need to open up some lines against the white king.
Great point, and that's exactly along the lines of what we were saying. The moment you get weaknesses on both sides of the board is the moment the pieces just struggle so much to stay on the board with the queen because she's so powerful, sliding back and forth. A check here, a pawn weakness over there, and so h5 was a really strong move. And she's going to continue to try to poke weaknesses open, and so the queen can kind of dominate on the diagonals and the files. this looks like she's on pace to bring the match within a game, Jen, and we only have 3.5 minutes remaining in the first portion. So I'm pretty sure if you had asked her starting if she would have taken a one-game deficit heading into the first Chess 960 battle, she would have said, "Sign me up," because this is proving to be a close match.
I think it might be a little bit hard to call it right now, though. It still requires some technique, but I like what she's doing now. She's putting her queen in position, but what's on her mind? F5. I mean, G5. Sorry, I misspoke. She's got to find the right moment to play the move G5 to continue opening up the position. Instead, actually, she's found probably a better idea. She wants to play E5, F5.
And then F4, right?
Yeah, she's got to open it up somehow against this king.
I've also been surprised that she could have also played Rook C2 last move. I guess at some point we'll see that. I was a little surprised she didn't just try to get another set of rooks off the board, but maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe she has better winning chances if she can open up the king while she still has that rook on the board to maybe help with an attack.
Yeah, I think so. I think I like keeping a set of rooks on the board because if you think of it, white's rooks are potentially superfluous, whereas we have like one rook that we can use to attack G3 and stuff.
Right.
So
no, yeah, good point. And maybe now that rook can get into C3, and suddenly ideas like Queen F5 and a date on the H3 square has white in big trouble.
Yeah, exactly. Like, for instance, if we play Rook C3 and you play Rook D3, we might have just the move Queen E2, taking advantage of the fact that Rook C3 allows Queen D1. So, yeah, this is looking like some pretty good technique by Hou Yifan. Rook D4 looks pretty terrible because we can just take on E2, right? Yeah.
You may have to go for that, though. If Rook D4, Queen E2, he would love to be able to take F4 with the rook to guard F2, but of course that's not possible, and so...
That's the problem. That if you take with the bishop, F2 hangs. If you take with the rook, D1 hangs. So you can't actually play Rook D4.
I guess I was thinking he might have Rook D4, Queen E2, and then Rook 1 to D2 intermezzo. And then, if a move like Queen G4 is played, now you can take with the rook so that the bishop remains guarding the H-pawn. So I agree with you. I mean, it looks sketchy, but I'm wondering if there's any better option than to try to go Rook D4, Queen E2, Rook 1 to D2, and then... Because I don't think Yifan can avoid the F4 pawn falling after that.
I don't know. I could maybe can I play like Queen E1 and Rook C1 maybe? I think Queen
E1, bishop takes, Rook C1. Yeah, you're right. Okay, there's definitely an attack there.
So he's just played King G1. Okay, so he's just trying to defend passively here, thinking that the active idea would have just lost. And now how does this Rook C3 move that we were looking at earlier, activating the rook look?
Yeah, I don't know, but if the rook gets to H3, then it looks too good to be true, right? If she plays Rook to C3, Rook H3, then the mating attack is on. So I'm sure she's calculating that idea along with ideas like F3. Because if you can punch... Okay, well, wow, now she's going to simplify, which I guess that makes sense, right? She avoided simplification. Now that she got kind of the transition she wanted, where that G file is open, there's going to be problems for the king. Rook C2 looks tough, because if you trade, Queen takes C2 wins a pawn just immediately. There's no way white can guard everything.
Exactly. That's the problem. Rook C2 doesn't really look playable. So you kind of have to like maintain the tension there, I think. And then maybe the move F3 is going to be really beastly. Because after, like, if we get to play F3 and you take, we can just play Queen F3. Leave the rook hanging on C2 because you can't take it. Queen D1 wins 2 for the price of 1. So this Rook C2 seems to come at the right moment, and he felt compelled to take it anyway. But that pawn on E2 is going down.
Yeah, and I think once it does, that's when you really see the queen get going. Okay, there's threats of bishop F6. That's what you got to be worried about if somehow Queen E2, bishop F6 can come in.
There's Queen G4, though. So
yeah, okay, there you go, yeah. And just wins on the spot, so...
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he's got a whole... I mean, I guess I don't know. Queen E2 just looks devastating. Because if you take on A7, I can't imagine you can withstand the threats after we play the move F3, right? Yeah. Queen E2, Rook A7, F3 looks just too dangerous. We're threatening, you're not going to be able to stop mating ideas in the light square.
Yeah.
The light square being G2.
Yeah. Well, it looks like that's likely to happen, and we've officially reached the end of the 5-2 portion. The Chess 960 game will be starting immediately after this. and we will see how these two players fare when the pieces are not where they're used to being, and that should be fun. Can't wait to see what we have in store there. All right, well, she's checking back and forth here. I think it makes sense for the queen to be on e4, have ideas like queen b1, queen g4, queen e1, just kind of owning the whole board in the center. Now here comes your idea f3, I think, and it's almost over here. Yeah, just go gobble the h-pawn. Makes sense. The queen guards d4, so there's no bishop d4 trying to line up to hit g7. Yeah,
and queen h3 was the huge threat there. And here it is, chess 960. Okay, knights are worse than normal in this position, Danny. I'm going to say I like the bishops here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's normally these are my least favorite chess 960 positions, Jen, where the knights are in the corner. I just hate those. Because I play like a brand of chess where I get going a little too crazy in the center, and then before I know it, I never develop my knight off of a1 or h1. So, but okay, Yifan says I'm not going to play like that, immediately getting the knight out of the edge, and then Fabiano follows suit. We have a symmetrical structure so far.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting what you say about the knights, because it goes to show you that in the position that we actually start out with in chess, knights are a lot stronger than they would be if they're starting in the corner.
Yep.
And you see that both players are trying to address that immediately by developing them quickly.
Very, very principled chess here by both of these players. And Anna and I were on the edge of our seat last game about when somebody would castle, and you see a big flip-flop of a king and rook in the center, and suddenly the whole dynamic of the position changes. But we'll see if that happens here. Yifan gets a check.
Yep.
But if she trades off that dark square bishop, I'm worried about the e3 and d2 squares. So we'll see how she deals with that e3 hole.
It seems like she's going to castle now. Oh, okay.
Oh, did she just mouse slip? I think she thought king c1 was going to castle.
Yeah, that's what she meant to.
I think she meant to castle, and she messed that up.
Because you see that Fabi did castle.
Yeah, Fabi did do it correctly, and now she's got problems. Well,
so how did that happen that she messed it up?
Well, what happened is she just moved king c1. What you have to do is put the king on top of the rook. Otherwise, it thinks you're making a move king c1.
So she
That's unfortunate, because usually it takes practice playing chess 960 online, which we do recommend in our pre-match emails with the players to make sure they know that, because we've seen it happen before. But yeah.
I guess the other option was she could have typed it in, right?
Yeah, you could type it in. You can also drag. The easiest thing is to drag the king to like a1. Like if you put the king kind of like over the rook, you kind of flip-flop it. The easiest thing to avoid any sort of slippage of the mouse.
Yeah, a lot of people in the chat are saying that we should message her before the next 960 that she knows how to do it.
We will.
I also see George Meyer in the chat. I was lucky enough to call his match against Sergei Karyakin with you earlier this year. That was a great match as well.
That was a great match. It was a lot of fun, and we saw Karyakin and Meyer play a similar brand of chess, and Karyakin just play at a little bit of a higher level there. But it was a very strategical match and really instructive match, actually. All right, well, Yifan is making the best of the situation here, though, Jen, right? I mean, she's got the A pawn advanced here. I think that with the queen on c5 and the king on c1, it's almost like she's castled long, right? The king on c1 and the rook on e1 look okay, and I don't think this is as bad as it could have been, given that we're all pretty sure king c1 was a mouse slip and not something she meant to do.
Yeah, and now there's some pressure but I still got to like black here. There's some pressure on the pawn on d5, though. Interesting. There's always some like sacrificial ideas here for black as well, but there's a lot of material getting traded as well.
Yeah. I wonder, we talk about Yifan's inexperience in 960 online. Caruana also probably has more experience over the board. I mean, he's played in these ultimate blitz things, right, against Nakamura in St. Louis, the Chess 960 showdown. And so Caruana actually scored, what was it? Did he win that match 2.5, 1.5, or he lost 1.5, 2.5?
He won the showdown in St. Louis, but I don't remember the exact 960 score.
Yeah, I think he actually lost the chess 960 games, or went 1.5, 2.5, but.
And that was a surprise to people, because we always think of Nakamura as the American blitz guy, and he is the number one rated. But obviously, Fabi has mad skills as well, especially when he gets on a roll.
Yep. Well, remind everybody right after this chess night. Whoa, rook takes e2. Forget the reminder. Was that what?
What happened?
Did he just
What?
mouse slip that?
Yeah. Wait.
Oh
Okay.
wait,
I don't know what
they
happened.
rematch. We got to abort this game. Let the players know. They're not making it very easy to get a hold of them on our group chat.
I'm not sure what just happened there, Danny. I don't know. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I think he mouse slipped, or he just forgot that the knight was on e2, because I'm not sure how you do that.
Oh, the game was aborted. Does that mean they're going to have a brand new 960, or are we going to
No,
get the
no,
same?
we're ready for a break time.
Okay, but wait. Okay. Oh, right. Of course. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to have a little break here.
Yep, break in the
Fabulous.
action, and both players will actually get up from their chairs and maybe take a quick break here. And we are letting them know, okay, and that's what they're going to do. And I got to take a moment here, Jen, to say, first of all, this has been a super exciting match. Let's remind everybody that with that big win, Yifan has just tied things up, and it is a 4-4 game heading into the 3-minute portion. But also need to give our first official shout-outs to the sponsors. Reminder that the 2017 Speed Chess Championship is brought to you by Masterclass. Everybody's excited for Garry Kasparov's course. Do you know much about this course, Jen? Have you seen a preview of the course?
Oh yeah, I've seen some previews of it. I mean, it looks fantastic, and I know you guys were involved with it, right?
Well, we had some team members there on site kind of helping, both Mike Klein and Matt Lodge, two of our guys that were able to get there and kind of help with the filming. But the big thing is they have contributed to help bring the Speed Chess Championship here, and we have a quick word, a reminder for probably the rare few fans out there who haven't seen this promo yet. Let's take a look and listen in here to the Garry Kasparov commercial and remind you to pre-order the masterclass from Garry Kasparov and eagerly await the release of that. I think it's coming at the end of this month or the beginning of September. So here we go. Let's take a listen in.
Check. Chess is a game of unlimited beauty, but it's not just checks and attacks. You have to be creative. Let's count it. King g5, king c2, king f6, king b3, king e7, king c4, king d6, king b5, king c7, king a6. Boom. White lost, yes? Queen takes, then knight f5, and it's a double attack. So let's go back and see what's the next logical moves. Skewer and attraction. And it's mate. What an amazing mate. I've been thinking about a few ideas that I never used. The one I want to show, it's one of my favorite openings. It's not about winning or losing, but of course at the end of the day it's about winning or losing. I'm Garry Kasparov, and this is my masterclass.
And we're back, and nice little commercial there from Garry. At the end of the day, it's about winning or losing. At the end of the day, someone is going to win or lose this match, but we are no closer to knowing that at this point, because we have got a deadlock, Gen 4-4. Again, a little disappointing there for Fabiano. If we see what happened in that game, reminder to everybody, if you just joining us, the last game here with rook takes e2, still just don't quite know what happened there. Maybe he was intending rook e3 and he just mouse slipped, and that happens sometimes, right?
Yeah, I think that must be it, Danny. That's the only thing that really makes sense, because the
Right.
sacrifice was not very effective.
Yeah, the rook coming to e3 probably would have been pretty effective, though, right? So unfortunate there for Caruana.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic because, of course, there was also a mouse slip by Hou Yifan in the same game, but hers was less
Right.
devastating than Fabi's.
Right, slightly more devastating, agreed. And it looks like we are off, and Fabiano has played his first move. Yifan is still not quite back yet in her chair, so hopefully she is back shortly.
Getting faster here.
And
Getting faster here, Danny. And who do you like in the even faster game?
I honestly do not know. I like to think that I tend to like the stronger players as the time controls get faster, and I'm not sure that Yifan knows that her game has started just yet.
Oh no. There it is.
There
She
it
knows,
is.
but she's given up 30 seconds.
Now she knows the game has started and she's made her move, and we are off. I tend to feel, just from doing a lot of these matches, that even when you think someone's not a bullet specialist or not as fast as the other person, I mean, even yesterday, Levon Aronian, who's not supposed to be as good at bullet, I feel like as the time controls got faster, he still played a higher quality brand of chess. In the end, he made a few more stakes under time pressure. That was kind of my perspective there, and didn't quite hold up, and I think he was a little frustrated at times, but overall, I tend to feel like the faster the time control, the more I believe the stronger player does well, with some exceptions. Some players that are just exceptional, maybe with mouse speed or something, but I'll be curious to see how Yifan holds up as things speed up.
And here we have my favorite opening, the Sicilian. I kind of like it for both sides, so I don't really know who to pick here.
Both of us here. I agree. I don't know who to pick as having the I know that I like to play both positions here. Bishop d7 comes in, and now you got to deal with the knight on a4. Often in this line, you can actually play b3, believe it or not, everybody. Yeah, and Fabiano does it. And the reason is that this trade, okay, Yifan's going to do it, but this is not as bad of a position as you maybe first meets the eye for white, because white has gained the bishop pair. If you're not careful as black, sometimes white is able to get a lot of control over the light squares because white has the bishop that black doesn't. So, but that said, I'm not sure that move. I'm sitting here saying that because I know this is an idea, and I'm thinking, I wonder if that move order was really the best for white. I kind of forget. Maybe you remember your English attack theory a little better than me right now, but I want to say this is okay for white, despite how ugly that looks.
Yeah, and we've got knight c4, queen takes c4, and yeah. Usually the Sicilian endgames are pretty good for black, but in this case, Fabiano judges that the game's going to be good for him after queen d3, rook d3 or pawn d3. Well, he's not going to find out because Hou Yifan said no queen trade. But now don't we have this move g6? That looks pretty powerful. I guess you have knight e5 intermezzo.
Yeah, I agree. And lucky for Yifan, the time is getting close to equal despite her sort of 30-second, spotting her opponent about 30 seconds. But the moment you get g6, we start to love white in these positions, don't we? I mean, g6 is just so nice to undermine the e6 pawn, and normally I like white here.
We do in a way, but there's also this problem of knight c5, right? I mean, that's giving you more counterplay than normal because the pawn on a4 is hanging. But Yifan chose to play knight e5 instead. That's also a very powerful looking move. But queen d3 is going to be met by knight c4.
Yep. So well, she's holding on. Fabiano Yifan is certainly a good Sicilian player herself, but I think Fabiano has established himself as one of the world's elite in terms of playing the white side of these positions. He's one of the few men brave enough to take on MVL in the Najdorf, right, Jen? I mean, we've seen that happen in St. Louis and other times where Fabiano, most people avoid the Najdorf against the Frenchman. For those who follow Top Chess know that. But Fabiano's not afraid of the English attack. So I guess I tend to always think that he knows what he's doing here. And I still like white. I like f5 coming here.
Rook g1 is also a possibility, threatening rook takes g7 check and knight e6.
Ooh, I like that idea. Yeah, rook g1 is interesting. So is f5.
So rook g1, f5, this is a critical moment for Fabiano. The one thing about this position in general is that black's moves come a little bit more obvious.
Right.
And, that's one of the things about having a good position. And he's chosen none of the moves we looked at, Fabi.
e5. That's interesting, right? He's just saying, everybody's saying, well, if you're just going to take the pawn, all you're doing is giving me more lines to get at your king. And, okay, Yifan's going for it. She's going to call his bluff and go after the pawns and go
after the bishop on e3.
And go after the bishop on e3. Well, I mean, one of the big things we have to mention here, I mean, it's obvious for those who've been following the match, of course, and you see the score, so you know it. Obviously, it is tied, but this could be Yifan's first chance since the beginning of the match to take the lead, right, Jen? I mean, she fell behind, she caught back up, and if she won this game, the underdog is out front.
Okay, so just rook h1, and I was going to say that you always there wasn't really a clear discovery because bishop moving could have been met by, anyway, bishop c1 now. And there's...
Yeah, I wonder, did she have knight a3 in the last position? Just kind of breaking through, and you know, one of the things about knight a3 last move, Jen, is if the king comes to b2, rook takes c2 wins because the knight is now pinned to the king. So
wow.
I wonder if she just missed that.
Knight takes e6, attacking the queen. This position is just completely wild, but is it just good for white?
Yeah, this is the kind of chess we want to see. This is awesome here. I mean, even knight a3 is still in the air at any moment for black, and white has to be super careful there. Maybe even rook b8 first should be played, but with the queen hanging, something's gone wrong here for her. I mean, now, okay, she goes.
Knight a3 check was played, so I guess she's just going to take on b3 and then take on a3 and try to bail out that way, Danny. So that at least she's not losing material. Well,
yeah, and the endgame is not as bad, I guess, for black as first seems. She's kind of down a pawn, but the h4 pawn is hanging. The
a2 check is in the air as well.
A2 check is in the air because of the c2 pawn under fire. I feel like we're going to see c4, and maybe Fabiano goes all in, giving her the h pawn. But even that still looks like it could be anybody's game here. And what's the difference between 3 minutes, Jen? We are already under serious time pressure. Look at that, right? Both sides about 40 seconds, and the clock is ticking.
But rook d7 check, staying active, that's something that you'll often see from really strong players, even in blitz games in the endgame. They know to stay active. It's in their bones.
Right.
Right, Danny? It's like, that's the difference. And this looks really effective. I mean, what is she doing
agreed.
now?
Here comes the attack, and I'm still so curious about that previous knight a3 move. I think Yifan missed a win and maybe a chance, like we said, to get a lead in the match. But okay, it's a knight orf and not much time on the clock. Pretty hard to judge the players for not seeing every little tactic. All right, well, but now we're getting a position where you really feel like white's the only one who can win this rook ending. That king on h5.
Before we were like trying to come back into the game with the idea that our bishop was a stronger piece, but now in this pure game, it's obviously a lot harder because once Fabi plays c4 and starts ganging up on the a3 pawn, he's going to go up 2 pawns. And you can never take on h4 with the king because there's just a checkmate. So that's why you see Yifan going after the pawn with her rook. And this is probably a good way to try to get counterplay. But
yeah,
now,
there was something crazy going on move 33, though. On move 33, I think that knight f4 was mate to follow. After king takes h4, there's ideas like rook to d3, heading rook to h3 with check.
Ooh.
So another, maybe a few, in hindsight, this may be a game where both sides miss wins, and who knows, maybe the poetic justice will see a draw. No, okay, Fabiano trades, no perpetual. And I think he should still be winning in this rook ending, despite missing that mate.
It's very similar to the other rook endgame that we saw him win, where he's going to end up having 2 really far advanced pawns with her king on the offside, right?
Yep, very similar to that game, and we're going to see a similar result with Caruana winning here. And in fact, Yifan agrees and throws in the towel. So, wow, quite the back and forth affair. Both sides seemingly missing wins, but we had a sharp knight orf, so we got all we could ask for.
Yeah, really, that was a fun one indeed. That one you kind of wished was a 10-minute game, so we get to really look through their analysis. But we've got another French, so I was right, Danny. I win that bet.
You were right. You win another bet, or you've lost me one bet, and now you win another one. So the French is back, a different line this time, not a tirage, playing a classical French with d takes e4. I haven't seen this line played at top level chess in quite some time.
So Fabi really keeping it mixed up. And what does he want to do with his king here, Danny? That's what I'm always asking my students. Like, what's your plan for Mr. King?
Okay, so f5 is played. Okay, he goes for the knight c3 line. Other variations would sometimes see the knight coming to g3, but in this line, okay, white can actually castle to both sides, but I think, okay, with that move, he makes a pretty clear intention. He plans to castle long, and then the idea with the rook on the d-file is to either strike with d5 or to look to open up the d-file some other way, like king to b1 here, and then maybe he's just going to put the knight on c5 and try to invite a trade to open the rook. I would expect to see knight c5 here, and yeah, unless there's some other kind of tactic. But that's kind of the idea here for white, to aggressively open the d-file, but this is the move order with f5. Oh wait, sorry, I'm thinking, I'm speaking as if he's white. No, she is white. She plays knight c5. I like that idea. And to answer your question about where Fabiano puts the king, usually the king just sits tight in the center.
And this bishop b5, trying to clarify the situation a little and also get his knight onto c6. Or d7. We're gonna see where the queen moves.
Yeah, maybe she can play queen e5 here.
But
yeah, she goes for it. I think that's okay, because I think that in the endgame, after queen takes and knight takes, if everybody just gets traded, white is just maybe not dominating with the knight in the center, as it can be kicked with f6, but currently the knight is certainly much better placed than the black counterpart. So
that's true. And, an early f6 could be met by something like knight takes e6, turning c7. So that's why you got to be a little bit careful of the softness of your pawn on e6 coming into the game. And now this nice move g3, threatening bishop g2 with a really monstrous bishop, preventing you from developing your knight on b8. And
yeah, I
sticking
agree.
the rook on that unsavory a7 square. So Bobbi trying to release some of the pressure with bishop takes e5, but and then bishop c6, that's his idea. So that was pretty timely. Otherwise, he was going to get really crunched.
Yep. Well, now we're going to see rook g1, and the question is, does he try to play knight d7 and trade, or okay, he has something else in mind. He wants to use the c6 square for the knight, and that's why he plays bishop f3 with tempo. If you give black one more move, he's going to put the knight on c6, and the e5 pawn is going to come under fire.
So that's why bishop g2, just in the nick of time before black can completely consolidate.
Yeah, and I like white here a lot. I mean, this is okay. He played a French again and got kind of a dynamic, weird position. But despite not taking advantage of the king in the center, maybe with an attack, she's owned the d file the whole way here. And I think that as soon as she solidifies that e5 pawn, maybe with a move like f4, she's just better in this endgame.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the knight on c5 is just glorious. That's the problem, right?
Yep. I mean, maybe you play f4 so that knight to d7 could even be met by knight b7 and into d6, which, I don't know, that looks like it could be fun. Put a knight on d6. That bishop on d5 is kind of irritating, though, right? I mean, Yifan would love to find a way to force that bishop to take g2 and reopen things for white on the d file. But Fabiano's not going to do that unless he has to, because that bishop on d5 is holding the fort. Look at that sack.
She's played c4. Well,
he didn't even want to take it because of ideas like rook to d6 and the rook gets in. And
yeah, it looked pretty dangerous indeed. But the problem is that bishop's going to be destabilized, right, Danny?
Yeah, that was her whole idea.
At some point, c4 is going to come. What a marvelous idea, that Fabi is trying to defend.
Wow, and she really takes advantage of the pinned bishop now, saying, hey, I don't even need to guard g2 because you got tactical problems of your own here with the d8 square coming.
c4 was a huge threat. Fabi felt it was necessary to play king e7. And that knight on b8 is doing, bishop f1, trying to keep pieces on the board.
This is so nice. Oh, but that's going to blunder, isn't it? To see, oh no, c4 doesn't work because of bishop e4. I was just like, wait, what's going on? So black is hanging on by the hair on his chinny chin here, barely.
So timeout, we just play f3 or maybe king c1. King c1 looks good.
Yeah, I think king c1 gets the king off of it. Yeah, and she agrees with you. And now, but the rook can come to d8, right? And
yeah, the rook can come to d8, although Fabi chose the active path of rook e7. And
already it's hard to know where, maybe, but it feels like white had more pressure than she's been able to deliver here, especially with black finding a way to coordinate on the b file.
Of course it feels that way, because we don't usually see or somebody as good at defending as Fabiano Caruana. That's the thing about these elite players, are so good at defending. So you're like, of course he's going to go down. The pressure is enormous. And then he finds the only moves.
Right.
Like you were talking about the cap score, right?
Yep, they find a lot more only moves than I do, certainly, than most people do. I mean, it's amazing to see them defend those positions so accurately. And now bishop d3 is a strong move in her own right, though. She's trying to guard the b1 square, and now she can play rook d2. As scary as that looks, she might be able to defend. Oh, but she has c4 first, stopping the bishop from hitting a2, and I bet she plays rook d2 on the next move. And she's kind of defended her way out of this, just like Fabiano did. Rook b2 check is met by king e3, and she gains a tempo just in time.
That's right. And of course, this bishop, I mean, she's good. If she can consolidate this position, of course, she'll be better because she's got a lot of structural advantages. So Fabi continuing to try to make it somewhat tactical here. He played this nice move,
Yeah,
f6.
really nice. Undermining the rook's protection, everybody. Now she's going to have to play a position where, yes, you have the A pawn, but somehow Caruana has gotten the central majority through that little swindle with f6. I'm not sure who's better here. How do you evaluate this?
I still feel like I like white because I don't see how that center gets moving, and the king on e3 is doing a really good job of keeping it from going forward, right? If you play e4, you're
Right, bishop c2. Oh, she goes to e2. I was going to say I don't like that because here comes rook b4. I'm not sure that was the best for white. I think Fabi should play rook b4 here and go pick up that c pawn.
Although he might just consider, and he's played rook to b4, as you suggested.
I think this is good for black because when that c pawn falls, even if white somehow picks up h7, I was just going to say she's going to go for this, but this king is going to come up via f6, and I feel like black's central majority is going to be more dangerous than anything white can muster. And don't play king e3 here. Oh, she does it. I'm worried king e5 is some sort of mating net is about to ensue for that king. But okay, she's risking it.
How do you get a mating net though? Because you kind of need.
Yeah, black needs one more pawn. Yeah.
Well, you need me to play g4 and walk into a mate in one. Which is, we always like those mates in one, don't we?
Yeah. Okay, well, Fabiano going after the A pawn. Here comes the C pawn. It's going to be H and A versus C. And I guess I'm agreeing with you now. I feel like this seems to be white's game to win and no longer one that she seems to be in risk of losing. I think
it's really hard to evaluate.
Probably fine here. Play h4.
What's that? You're just going to play h4 because... So. Yeah, c2 check doesn't really lead to anything.
Yeah, you could even consider playing king f4 on c2 check and go all in. And I think Fabiano liked that idea, so he prevents it with king e5.
Yeah, so rook c5 check, just offering the chance for him to come back.
I don't know what to play here. King d4, a6. Yeah, she goes with that one. She's going to force the issue, I think, in trade.
And so again, king f4, e5 would be trouble because of
the
mating
problems.
So instead, she's just transposed to this 3 versus 3 endgame where we've got these 3 central pawns.
Ooh, wow, and she takes and undoubles the pawns, but does so with the idea of holding on the 5th rank, and I guess she's going to just kind of say this is a draw now.
Cutting off the king, that's important because otherwise white would actually be in huge trouble, right?
Oh, wait a second. White may be in a huge trouble.
Oh, no.
No way she didn't see that, but she didn't.
Oh, no. There was a little tactic there at the end, huh?
A shot in the dark there to stay on the analysis board and show everybody what just happened. After the check on a1, suddenly it was a miscalculation because the black is able to sack everything because he's able to get a queen, and white could do nothing but what she did. She played rook here and gave a check, but in the end, there was no way to stop queening. So really interesting and disappointing for white because I think we felt like she was in the driver's seat most of the time there, and in the end, just made some blunders under time pressure, Jen.
She had time to play king g3, didn't she, and prevent all that?
Instead of... In which
earlier at the very end, but we can look at there's another game going on, so let's look at that. But indeed, so you turned out to be right, Danny, that the center pawns created more problems. So you won that bet at least.
Yeah, not really. I think it took some mistakes by both sides to get that. But yeah, it's crazy, right? It does say at least that's what happens in Blitz, where like maybe that's a game in a tournament that ends up being played well by both sides, eventually peters out to the appropriate result of a draw, right? But in Blitz, it's just super dynamic and tricky, and one side ends up blundering.
And speaking of super dynamic and tricky, this takes on e5, allowing Fabi to take on c6 and saying, hey, I mean, after takes on c6, pawn c6, queen c6, bishop d7, I've still got the 2 bishops.
Yep.
And I'm happy. So instead, Fabi's played knight to f3, and you have to keep checking this move, knight takes e5, right? Because after knight e5, queen e5, your rook is also hanging on h8.
Mm-hmm.
but there's always a bishop g7.
Yeah, with tempo. And then, a big trade is probably going to occur with bishop takes d7, probably still just playable for both sides. But maybe Caruana needs to go gobble that pawn back, despite the tempos it gives. It gives black with bishop g7 on the queen. One fun factoid after that game, even though it was close to a draw, Jen, it did stay decisive, which means we have still yet to have a single draw in this match. And so far they're on pace to beat the Speed Chess Championship match with the least amount of draws ever was Carlsen versus Petrosian from last year's first round. Only 2 draws. So anyway, no draws yet in this match. We have had decisive games every round.
I say we're going to beat it, Danny. We're going to beat
draws. No draws. Make your brother proud. No draws. We do have a 6-4 score, and Yifan has not won a game yet in the faster time control, Jen. I don't know if it's really because of time pressure or just Fabiano has played a couple of really spectacular games. Would you agree?
Yeah, he's obviously very good at these extremely fast time controls,
right.
And very tricky, knows how to keep tricking, even if it looks like she's consolidated. But what about this position? We've got a situation with a pawn sacrifice, but this insane pressure on the b file.
Mm-hmm.
So it is 7 pawns for black and 6 for white, but knight d5 looks very dangerous. And
right.
If you castle, let's see.
I think you have knight takes e7 maybe first. Your knight can't take because d7, but maybe not actually. I guess queen takes and everything seems fine. So what?
Yeah. But Hou Yifan decided to play a6 to start off.
Yeah.
Because maybe after bishop c6, you could just play bishop c6, possibly. Anyway, Fabi just put his bishop back to c4 instead. Didn't like that variation, which could have resulted in some kind of queen sack.
One of the issues here, I think, for black, Jen, is that even if, let's say, she finds a way to get castled and doesn't get punished horribly on the d file, it's still going to be super dynamic because you've got kings on opposite sides of the board, and Fabiano may find compensation and just sort of rushing forward with an attack like h4 and h5.
Yeah, this was great. I mean, this bishop c4 move was class because
Yeah.
there's no castling now because there's knight f6 and queen g6.
Yep.
Ouch.
I was just going to highlight that exactly, that the bishop finds itself on a super nice diagonal to create those tactics. Really good for players to learn to see the forest through the trees there, right? Look at the tactics that maybe not present, but be aware of those sort of things. And Yifan's aware of it. She plays queen a5 and avoids castles here, Jen. Are we going to see castles long? Maybe she decides to go the other side of the board.
Yeah, this move, queen a5, is a nice fighty move. It feels like we should have something here as white, but knight takes e7, king takes e7, not wanting to allow us to like gobble, I guess, on b7. But now there's always bishop takes f7.
Mm-hmm. I think that bishop takes f7 now just looks like a clean steal of the pawn because you can't really allow this idea with the rook coming into d7. That would just be too much.
Yeah.
So I think Fabiano, I wonder what he's calculating here. Perhaps,
maybe he's got something better. Maybe he's got queen d3, threatening queen takes d7 and queen d6 check. Maybe he likes that better, kind of keeping the pressure on. But no, he's taking on f7.
I was just highlighting that bishop f5 would be the move, but he goes for it and then plays queen to c4, which kills 2 birds with one stone, defends the queen and the bishop at the same time. But it's not over here. I mean, yeah, I was going to say rook c8, and this king is really precarious. But look at the situation here, right? With the rook, bishop, and potentially knight all lining up. Once that knight comes to b4 on this c2 square, and
yeah, no time for g4. G4, we might even be able to play bishop takes c2.
Yeah, and no time on the clock to figure it out, Jen. He's got 22 seconds now. He's got 24 seconds, according to the engine here. Actually, white is already in big trouble after takes and knight b4. And I only get those messages from time to time. Pete loves when he can give me knowledge that I don't otherwise see. So according to Pete, the engine likes black a lot, and it looks like Pete was right because somehow the force exchange here leads us to a position where, let's check on the players here. And what we can see already is that Yifan has removed her hand from her face, so that's one thing that's different.
Okay, so I'll remove my hand from my face.
Okay. All right. Fabiano's still in all kinds of awkward positions here, and not quite showing us the eyeball. He's got his poker face on, not showing his eyes to the opponent.
Poker face, poker neck, indeed. Although it's funny because poker players say that it's the neck that they actually have to hide because when they get nervous, there's this pulsation in their neck.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. That makes sense. When I get nervous, my neck gets really, really red, and I don't even know why that is, but it just gets really, really red. So, we're just sharing. We're just sharing things now. So,
but now knight d2 and some technique is going to be needed from Hou Yifan, as you know, it looks 30 seconds for Hou Yifan and 20 seconds left for Fabiano. But these rooks are coming into the game as well. Yeah, knight coming to c4, trying to gain some counterplay, but there's no good real square for the knight at the moment. I mean, c4 is probably the best we can do.
But a lot of blitz players argue, certainly Larry Christensen believes in the powers of the knight, that in these sort of time scramble situations, being down the exchange when you have a knight is not the worst thing in the world. It's certainly going to take some technique for Yifan to figure it out and avoid those tricky pony tricks. In fact, here's one right now with white ganging up on the e5 pawn.
But rook d5 seems like it holds everything together, and this super advanced g3 pawn. Now Hou Yifan's going to try to play rook f8. That's why Fabi played rook g3 to keep her honest.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think we can even claim black is better here anymore, right? I mean, this is white has managed to...
Knight e3 is in the position.
Yep, even on rook f4. So no matter what she does here, knight e3 comes in. Oh, super nice trick there. She's forcing the issue on the exchange of the passed g-pawn. Wow.
That's right. So you're saying that if knight takes d5...
Yeah, if knight had taken d5 there, everybody, rook takes f3 was going to lead to a winning endgame because of the g-pawn despite being down a full piece. So that was a super resourceful trick, and I think it's going to win her the game. Because at the end,
we've seen Fabi with these pawns before, but they're not good enough in this case.
That was nice. That was very, very tricky. When we thought she had blundered knight e3 check, she turns it into a winning idea, right? With this rook f4, king e4.
Hey, well, that's the whole point of tricks. If tricks were easy to see, then they wouldn't be very tricky, right?
Silly rabbit. Tricks are for kids. I should have known better. The match is within a game, and we have 30 minutes left in the 3-minute portion here. Some super high quality chess being played by both sides, and we have another French, which means I'm wrong again. Jen wins again.
And everybody who wagered on Hou Yifan now is getting pretty excited because they probably got some good odds, and she's doing great.
Yep. Well, another French, another position that I like white, but okay. No, but this is certainly not nearly as aggressive as the original Tarrasch we saw where black was undermining everything, but white was all in with the whole f5 idea. Here, this is going to be much more of a slower positional game, right? Seems that way.
Yeah, it looks that way. But I gotta like white. I like white in these positions, Danny, just like you.
Yep. Well, I think as the black pieces sort of maneuver on the queen side, they poke and prod for squares and access. At some point, white decides, okay, here you got to deal with knight b3 coming. But as soon as you deal with these threats, I think white decides to do things like king h1 and g4, and you just continue to try to manufacture things. And the reason that attack always comes into view for those who don't, maybe are beginner chess players who don't know this structure, when you have all your pawns facing toward one side of the board, that's where you want to attack. And so Queenie won. Actually, that's a really nice way to deal with that threat of knight b3, Jen, because that queen wants to come over here eventually and help in this all-out assault of the king.
Absolutely. I love that move Queenie won, trying to stick the queen on g3. But this knight c4 now is saying, if you do take this knight off, my bishop on b7 is going to be gorgeous.
I think she should just play g4 here anyway. I think she should just go for it now. I mean, as much as we hate losing that dark square bishop in these lines, okay, she's willing to give it up anyway. But I was going to say, if we give it up and we can prepare f5, and that's how white gets closer to having an attack.
You're absolutely right, Danny. And the key point is that even in the blitz game, understanding that the key bishop here is the light squared bishop, because that's the one that can go to d3 and attack h7. The dark squared bishop might look pretty in that square because maybe f5 later, but it's not as good. Right. And with this exchange, she's also gotten her knight closer to the fray.
Yeah, and this makes me think again that I wish she had just played g4 and had the same position, but with the threat of f5. And now she has to deal with the b3 pawn, decides to make a trade of a6 for b3, and every move you play on the other side of the board in these positions, when one side has one chain facing this way and you have a chain facing the other, usually every move that's played on the queen side kind of favors black in terms of the tempos of the position, and white finally does manufacture f5 here, so she gets what she wants, but I feel like black is not out of it here. He's got a rook on b3. There should be some way for black to get enough counterplay to defend.
Fabi is never out of it because he knows how to fight in these blitz games. As we saw, that's like one of his key trademarks.
Yeah, I agree, and
nice.
and his pieces are coming to life over here.
Yeah, nice potential pressure here and tricks in the position for both sides. You got to keep your eye open for taking on d4 and taking on e5 in certain situations with lots of stuff hanging in the position. For instance, just even now, if it's my move as black, maybe I can take on d4, and then after you take with the pawn, take on e5.
Right. That's a nice tactic to note. Show the fans here, and just a random move to show Jen's idea of the rook and the queen lining up on this square for problems, which makes this pawn pinned. So that's a tactic Yifan has to be aware of, and she's thinking, and she's down more than a minute on time. So after getting her first victory in 3-minute chess, she's kind of up against it here right now, and maybe she's looking for a way out. Plays rook to b1, trying to get some pieces off the board and avoid that pressure of the queen and rook on e3.
Right, okay, rook b1. Trying to simplify the situation. Okay, so let's see.
Yeah, I think she manages to equalize it for now, but if black takes on d4 and white takes, maybe the other rook can come to c3. So I still feel like black is a bit in the driver's seat because he's already broken through on the queen side for play. But Fabiano doesn't see anything concrete. Plays a little prophylactic move there, h6, just kind of sitting tight.
Yeah, well, that's the kind of move, he doesn't want to play queen takes b1 immediately, activating white's rook.
Right.
But it's a kind of classy move that, you don't see amateurs playing as much because they're like, my king's under attack. I got to trade queens immediately.
Right.
So very patient by Fabi, but will it backfire as her queen enters the fray? He plays knight f8, kicking the queen back.
Yeah, she does get some squares after that h6. The g6 square is there and didn't lead to anything, but the game is a little more dynamic. Queen c4 threatens something, everybody. If Fabiano blunders with c takes d4, knight takes d5 is crushing on the spot.
Exactly. Knight takes d5 is a dangerous idea, and that's why Fabi's played queen b3. But I wonder if his decision to keep queens on the board might backfire here. We'll find out. Is there c4 in the position? No, there's queen takes e3. That was the whole point. So we can't play c4 here. Our knight's hanging.
And queen b3 was aggressive in its own right? It was defensive-minded on d5, but also created that threat of c takes d4 and opening up the third rank for the queen. So Yifan had to find this defensive move, knight d1. 40 seconds left for the challenger, and a minute left for the favorite in the match so far, but this has been super close, and I don't know what's a good move here. You don't want to take on d4 anymore, Jen, because the knight can then take and fork the queen and the pawn on e6. Okay, but Fabiano says I do like that. Okay, we'll see.
Well, he can still play queen b6 or even bishop c5 is possible. He's played the more aggressive bishop c5.
But even king h1 here, I still feel like that was a decent transition for Yifan. Maybe even h4 here. I don't see Caruana getting anything better than just taking on d4 with the bishop, and then she can kind of fix her structure with c takes d4.
And queen f4 chosen by Hou Yifan. Thinking that queen can sometimes nag us on f7 if we're not careful.
Right.
Bishop d4, pawn d4 played. She's hoping to get her knight into a better position here with knight e3. Knight f2 rather was her choice. Still, I think the knight's gonna, if the knight comes to g4 here, I guess it doesn't really do a whole lot. So she plays h3, makes them look first. But is there h4?
Yeah, she gets h4, but and now maybe she'll have knight h3, knight f4. It's okay, not anymore. That pins the knight to f1, obviously, but she does have g4 if she wants it.
Oh, g4 looks like too much. She's getting pushed back here.
Yeah, that was a nice move, queen f4.
So she's played queen g4 just in the nick of time. That's an important move. Otherwise, she was going to end up in big trouble, I think. But rook f5 immediately by Fabi. Is she still in trouble, or do we just have queen g6? No,
she plays g3. I got a bad feeling about this game that it may be the first one that gives us our peaceful result.
Yeah,
it's headed. It seems to be headed toward an equal finish. Oh, rook f2 is nice, pointing out the queen guards d1, and so she's still kind of sitting tight. Can she? No, she can't quite. I thought maybe she could trade on f5, and if e takes, play the move knight f2 with tempo on the queen. Maybe she could have gone for that, actually. Rook takes f5, e takes f5, and then knight f2 with tempo on the queen, and she might be getting the better knight ending.
But okay, geez, look at her time.
Yeah, I was going to say, no time to calculate that. She's living on the increment here, and actually ends up blundering the pawn. Yeah.
You jinxed it, Danny.
I jinxed the peaceful result, apparently. We may still get a peaceful result despite the blunder, but the time.
Oh yes, because she's getting some counterplay here, indeed.
The time really seems to be the issue now.
And there's been a mass trade, and she's stuck her knight on f4. Well, she's built up some time on the clock, Danny. So she was down to like a second or two, right. And now with a bunch of fast moves, she's managed to build it back up.
Right, love that increment. Yeah, but it's definitely one that is super dangerous. These knight endings are not nearly as close to a draw as rook endings when you're only up a pawn. The knights can really kind of maneuver and outplay each other, giving the person with the extra pawn a pretty good advantage. All right, but she's doing well. She's created a target for her knight on h6, which is going to make sure this king stays nice and put right there on g7.
That's right. So what they say about knight endgames is that knight endgames are like pawn endgames. They're similar to pawn endgames because you can't really easily lose a tempo in situations.
Right.
Like you can with the bishops and the rook. So it's harder to just like say, hold, no moves.
Okay, she almost gets a perpetual there, but Fabiano was just sort of tricking. Ooh, why not knight c4, I thought. But okay, the knight comes to g2, and I guess it's going to come to f4. And then to e4, and Fabiano's almost worked himself back into a win here. But no, I think she finally got him stuck. He's now really kind of stuck to this e6 pawn, and I don't think she's gonna.
And there it is. There's been a draw by agreement.
Well, I didn't jinx it enough, apparently. So we do have our first peaceful result of the match. That we're nearly 2 hours in, and we've only had one draw. I think that's getting what the people paid for here.
And she plays an unusual line, offering up a Sicilian with a6, and Fabi goes for the c3 Sicilian because she's kind of committed to playing a less theoretically viable line of the c3 Sicilian. So some little opening nuances there for both players. And queen b3. Thinking that he's going to get the better endgame here, and Hou Yifan without much choice because he could have maybe taken on c5 if she retreated the queen.
This is very similar to a French now, right? I mean, it's not a French, but we're kind of in a French structure almost.
But the problem is that a6 pawn. We might be able to batter it with the moves b4 and b5 as white. So I got to like white's position here.
Yeah, I agree. That's kind of a key point to why you allow these double pawns, everybody, is that, and there we go, that open file becomes so useful, and here Fabiano's using it for tactics. Isn't bishop to b6 check coming? Ooh.
Yeah, bishop b6 looks nasty.
Yeah, something bad.
We're just trapping that rook on a8.
Yep. Going to go down the exchange here, Yifan is. It seems like something went wrong there, allowing this nice tactic. Let's see what happened there after knight to d2.
No, how are you losing an exchange, Danny?
Can't you play rook a7?
Oh yeah, that's
knight c7.
Yeah, just rook a7. Okay. So he's not going after it right away. He's decided I'll keep this pressure for a minute and see what you do.
Yeah, an instructive point here was on knight to d2. She played knight e to c6 when she probably should have played either knight c8, everybody, to anticipate these weak dark squares, or maybe even knight b to c6. So that's kind of an instructive little tactic, because this is the type of position that people can get in their own games with an open a file early to see what happened there. So assuming Fabiano's going to get knight c7 here and go on to win the exchange, an interesting little blunder out of the opening there. She's up on time, though.
And he's not playing it quickly.
Wow.
He's instead keeping this knight's mate, bishop d8, just knight mate.
I was about to say, bishop d8 saves the rook. Oh, no, it doesn't. It's actually, bishop d8 does save the rook. It just has other problems. So.
We think alike, Danny. We're always looking for those little cheap mates. I love it.
Tricky little mates. B4
There's
is
another way to create that, by the way. As white, we could play knight g5 next move and say, oh, if you play knight g5, there's knight d6 and mate.
I actually really like that idea. Maybe he could have played knight g5 last move, Jen. I guess knight takes e5 would have been the problem. Okay.
Knight takes e5 is the problem, indeed. So, yeah.
Silly rabbits. Tricks are for kids. We're always looking for them. But all right, f6 is played. Yifan she's trying to wiggle her way out of this, despite being really in kind of a tight spot here with the king.
Oh, and the problem is that the reason he's not playing this line with knight c7 is that after rook a7, bishop a7, knight a7, where does the knight on c7 go?
Yeah.
That's weird. Wow, that's just a bizarre thing.
Let's show the fans that. That was a good line, Jen. Knight c7, rook a7. If takes and takes, the point is the knight can't really get out. You've got knight a8, but maybe then bishop d8. And so Fabiano worried he's going to end up losing 2 pieces for the rook instead of winning the exchange. So being very careful here. And maybe he doesn't need to, Jen. I mean, look at black's pieces on the queen side, right? I mean, there's like almost no moves here for black's pieces, right?
Yeah, so it's kind of like a combination of noticing those issues and then also being like, hey, why don't I just leave all of your pieces checkmated?
Right.
It's not like giving up my beautiful bishop on b6 really makes a lot of sense for your checkmated rook on a8, right?
Absolutely.
Am I that excited to give up either my knight on b5 or my bishop on b6 for that rook, which is garbage, right?
Yep.
So very good intuitive play by Fabiano that don't be materialistic. It's not about how much your pieces are worth. It's about what they're doing. And even in Blitz, that's the amazing thing about these superb players, the best in the world, that they judge these things even in a Blitz game so quickly.
Yep. Yeah, I agreed. And rook g4 is kind of a weird move because it doesn't seem to do anything, but I guess it poses a question to white. All right, my position is bad, but she's saying, how are you going to get me, right? So Fabiano has to figure out some way to take advantage of this ridiculously awesome-looking bind over here on the king and rook.
Right, and yeah, you're right. But about Hou Yifan, like, she just has to play moves, you know. Mm-hmm. Like if you're trying to sit here and figure out how to get out of this bind, you're just going to lose on time. So
best advice Lavon Aronian ever gave me in Bug House is just move, just move.
It's so much easier said than done, I bet,
Right.
Especially when you're playing against elite players in the world who are going to be like, what?
Well, yeah, the point is if you don't see mate, most often in Bug House, the best move is just to move quickly. But okay. Yeah, in Blitz, okay, it's certainly not the same, but there is something to be said for, not necessarily trying to, don't beat yourself. If you don't see a win, play quickly here. And now she's taking a little bit of time, but, despite how ugly the position looks, Fabiano hasn't found a concrete way to win yet.
Yeah, I mean, also impressive fighting abilities by Hou Yifan, strongest active woman on the planet right now. I mean, as you pointed out, Judith Polgar, only player higher rated than her in history for a woman.
Oh, wow. So she was calculating something, and I couldn't figure out what it was, but this is what it was. Some sort of sacrifice to unwind the camp.
But it doesn't look really good for white.
It does. I didn't understand. I mean, at first I thought opening the bishop was going to give her some kind of immediate tactic on the pawn, but indeed, no. That is not what was happening. She just felt like she couldn't sit on the position anymore, and so she went all in.
Yeah, but this is great. It seems
even
like
knight takes a. I was going to say knight takes a6 there. I was wondering if that was possible with some sort of craziness, bishop takes a6, and maybe a win immediately on the c file. That might have actually been even better than what Fabiano did.
But this is going to be really good too, because a6 is going to hang in these variations as well, Danny. Knight takes a6 is possible, but takes on d5 even better.
Yeah. Well, at this point, yeah, it looks like he's
up a piece.
He's up a piece, and a piece is a piece. So whether knight takes a6 worked or not, and I think Fabiano is just going to take the point here. Yep. And Hou Yifan throws in the towel. We are back to decisive chess, ladies and gentlemen. No more draws, and a 2-point lead with about 15 minutes remaining in the 3-minute portion. But this is a close match. As you said, Jen, if it's within a game or two, that's what happens. When you get to bullet, if it's within a game or two, then it's anybody's game. And right now, that's all Hou Yifan can ask for.
Is this going to be a precursor to the fight on Saturday? Much closer than everybody else thought?
I have no idea. I'm a big believer that this is a lot of hype, and Floyd Mayweather is going to take that one. But okay, I'm not a boxing commentator, so I have no idea. But
so far, I would say that this match is so much closer than people thought. And,
agreed.
It's two points distance, but it could be even closer. Of course, there was that horrendous mouse slip in the 960, but I mean, this could go any way as we approach the bullet. I just think that Yifan needs to keep a 2-point distance. If she gets down further than that, it's going to be very troubling.
Yep.
So this game, super important.
Whatever Fabiano did with his camera, we appreciate it, because now we can even see that he's eating something that looked like a protein bar. So he's trying to keep his energy level up. I wish I had a protein bar right about now. Protein bar of choice, Jen?
Well, no, I don't really like them. I think they're just fuel. What about you?
I'm not a fan of protein bars, but I think I'll go with a Cliff Bar sometimes. They're not the worst thing.
Quest bars used to be amazing, but then they messed up the recipe.
Yeah. I used to like the Tiger's Milk protein bars, but there's a lot of sugar in those ones. So
just boil some eggs.
Just boil some eggs. That's true.
Cage-free eggs, though.
That's right. Cage-free eggs. All right. All right. Well, what's going on here? We got Queen G5, a fork of the G and E pawns, but Queen F2 will probably just solve that, I would guess. Unless she, you know what she's thinking about? She's thinking about castling long. I bet you she's thinking about just castling long here, Jen, and saying, "Are you really going to take that G pawn?"
No.
You're not going to, right? If she castles long, G pawn, maybe then the rook comes over and.
But she has defended it with Queen F3, and now.
No, but I think she was planning it the whole time. She goes for it next move, and I agree that this was probably the way to go for her, was to castle long and try to get some kind of attack on the king side. All right. Well, we're going to see what happens now with the attack with kings on both sides of the board. It's all in for the attack, our favorite kind of chess. The thing here about the position that's hard for white is, again, you wish you could move this pawn from A3 back to A2. And B3 is a way to deal with that. But the point, everybody, is if A4, now you have B4. And if B4, you have A4. This is a common defensive theme to kind of make note of when you're under fire via a pawn storm. You create this little anchor situation of the pawn so that you can meet either breakthrough with an advance to keep the position closed. Whereas if you had not done that, let's say white did something else, then B4 would have come, and A4 is not possible, of course. So an instructive little moment there by Yifan to defend. Caruana goes for it anyway. Sorry, what?
I mean, I love how instructive that you are in a bullet game, Danny. That's really impressive. Beautiful.
I try to come up with instructive moments in bullet games literally for a living, because it's the only quality chess I play anymore. No, I'm kidding. No, I blunder for a living. But no, I tend to be a believer that there are always instructive moments to find in these games, even though, as the great Nesmetdinov would say, only a fool analyzes blitz. But I am a fool, so I will analyze blitz and try to find instructive moments.
Love it. Well, what about this move King D2? Instruct that.
I like it. I think
she's worried about this E4 and C4 idea.
But I think she's going to play Queen F4 now. Yeah, and if she can offer this queen trade, if he doesn't trade, then D6 is weak.
Queen F6 threatening Queen C3 check to punish you for putting your king on D2.
Yeah, that's a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
Actually, what does Yifan do now? Actually, Queen C3 check is coming.
We probably have to run and try to play something like King E2 and Rook D2, hold everything together.
Yeah, king e2. What are you thinking? King e2, but if queen c3, rook d2, you can take on d3, and then at the end of that line, b3 falls.
Yeah, you're right. B3 hangs or C2 hangs, which is even worse.
Yeah, this is backfiring for Yifan, and she's kind of shuffling in her chair. She decides to go all in, and now she's kind of pot committed to open up the center, despite the fact that the king is not where it wants to be.
Well, she's just trying to go back and forth. King
Yeah,
C1, Queen
I thought
A1.
she might, but she didn't. Yeah, I agreed with you. I thought that was what was coming.
Well, maybe she thinks this isn't too bad either, although it looks pretty bad.
Ooh, she gets d6 though. I mean, what in the world, right? I mean, you know what's coming on d6 is if the bishop just moves, like bishop takes a4, she's going to play e5 maybe? Got a whole bunch of passed pawns.
It's wild.
It's a lot of passed pawns, but I don't know if it's enough, because if bishop takes a4, e5, bishop b5 check, black's going to pick up the rook, but something tells me that black should be just winning in this game, but, you know, it's blitz, and so maybe it was the right practical shot for her anyway, Jen, given that she kind of made this mistake with the king on d2.
Yeah, it was all that stuff you were talking about, Danny, but the thing was that Fabi had a backup plan to open up the C file. So even though she neutralized A and B, he had C.
Yep.
So
darn that C file. Every time gets me.
So rook takes f5, tricky. Queenie, if rook takes f5, queen e6 check. Fabi doesn't go for that. He plays queen c3 instead with this devastating idea of bishop b5. You won't be able to play king f2 then, because I get queen takes d2 with check.
Yeah, this is becoming a problem, everybody, because as Jen was saying, that if bishop b5 check comes, you can't go here because of the rook, and you can't go to e1 because of queen takes e3. So queen to c3 was a really strong move, and Yifan so much so she's got to go out of her way with the queen just to stop bishop to b5 check.
But here it comes again, bishop b3, same diagonal, different square.
That is a problem. In fact, it may be enough to just win the game here. I mean, with no time on the clock, whether there's a saving move or not, she's probably not going to have the wherewithal to find it. Okay, so she goes d6, but here comes check, king d1, but the mating net is on. Will it close? Looks like it. The queen has to sack herself.
B3 would force the sacrifice of, well, not the sacrifice of the queen, the loss of the queen.
Yep.
But it's another game for Hou Yifan. Can she get back in that 2-point distance and scalp a game from Fabi?
The match is now at a 3-point lead for the first time since it was 4-1, right? To start the match. So this is the biggest lead. He's matching his biggest lead. We have not seen a 4-game lead. We have seen a 3-game lead early on, if you're just joining us. And 7 minutes left in the 3-minute portion. It's been a close match, but Fabiano right now proving to be the better player by just a few games. We're back in a Nimzo Indian, Queen's Indian type structure. We haven't seen this in a little while.
Yeah, well, this is the most traditional Nimzo that we've seen. We've seen some kind of like weird Queen's Indian, one where Fabi even managed to castle queenside. But here we've got kind of the traditional battle for the e4 square, and the two bishops gained by Fabi. And yeah, I have to like this type of line for white. It seems just a little easier to play. He's just getting to expand now with f3 and e4, and those two bishops are going to be hard to meet, especially in a blitz game.
I tend to like black in these positions, I think, just from my own experience of playing the Nimzo Indian, but the main thing is can you deal with the big center here? You'd like to play something like knight d7 and get e5, or really you'd like to get e5 and actually have your knight be able to come over to a5, where you and the knight and the bishop can kind of meet on c4. But
good, I love the disagreement. I don't play this with white or black anymore. I used to play the Nimzo, but I found myself struggling in positions like this because sometimes the f file would also get yanked open.
Yep. F4 and F5 is the other idea. Yeah. No, I agree, and I think this is a sign that the position is less than ideal as far as an ideal Nimzo for black anyway, because as I was saying, if you could get whatever you want, I'll just do that real quick on the analysis board to provide whatever instruction we can. Let's just say if black could get what you want, you really want this. You want it to be closed, but this knight needs to be here with the bishop so that you can get enough counterplay on the queen side to justify whatever black is going to have to deal with over here on the king side. So when knight d7 comes in, a4, I like this move by white, a4 and a5. And white gets to kind of play the whole board here, Jen, and have a nice center advantage to go with it. And e5 isn't as good anymore, because if you get e5 as black in these positions, they play d5, and the knights are sort of stepping on each other's toes here. They're not that useful on d7 and f6, and white's going to come with f4 at some point and open up the kingside. Oh wow, she takes and plays e5. That's because she's got the c5 square under her view there for the knight. That's not a bad idea, Jen. If you get the knight to c5, then it's a lot harder for white to get f4 because the e4 pawn will be weak.
Yeah, it's a lot less, it's more unusual, but that's why she's such a great player, finding these interesting ideas. But it still seems so much easier to play this with the potential weakness on b6 as well coming into the game.
I agree.
I'm trying to improve the position of my knight on h3. That's the question. If I could stick it on f5, that would be amazing. That's going to take a lot of moves, though. Knight f2 to d1 to e3.
But I think he likes your idea, though. I think he's... Oh, nice tactic. That is a hedgehog tactic. You got to take advantage when you have less space. And I say it instinctively, whether it works or not, just because I look at d5 and I know that if black hadn't done something like this, as you said, the knight's just going to relocate. We're going to get a position where black is just getting squeezed. So we'll see if she can fully justify it, but I like that move d5.
Well, one issue, what about rook a7 here? You don't have bishop c6 because of takes on d5. So you got to go back to a8 and just want to make sure that nothing ugly is happening there.
Yeah, no, it is. It is scary.
Bishop a8, I'm a little worried about bishop b5 in the position.
I think that's the right move. I agree with you. Bishop b5 looks strong. Renews the threat of taking on d5, everybody, because now there's no bishop on e2.
And knight f6 would allow bishop takes f6, and you'd be forced to take back with a pawn to avoid the loss. No. You can maybe, I don't know, after knight to f6, I think we have bishop f6, because if you play knight takes f6, we have rook e7.
Rook takes e7, rook takes queen. In the end, white ends up winning a piece because of that bishop on b5. So, I agree with you, and Fabiano does too. As he takes it, are we gonna see that was just a miscalculation by Yifan? Certainly, she doesn't want to take with the pawn. If she has, it's just over.
Pawn, then queen a6 is just totally lost.
Right. Yeah.
Just totally lost.
Well, I think she just missed that. I think she probably calculated quickly that she could do knight f6 because the queen was on d2 hanging, and just missed the rook on e8. And I think that resignation kind of tells us that that's the case. So we have a four-game lead.
Rook a7, I don't know if Fabi saw all that when he played knight to d1, but that's fantastic. Rook a7, it hurts.
Right.
It's a good move.
Well, I still think she did the right thing. She was getting squeezed there. Not an ideal Nimzo with the knight on d7 once white gets that a file open, but she tried to make d5 work, and Fabiano just playing a high-level brand of chess and executed perfectly. Now he's got a 4-game lead, the largest of the match so far. Jen, if she wins this game, we're back to a 3-game lead heading into the bullet, but we only have 1 minute and 45 seconds left before we are in the fastest portion of the match.
It's going to be a really exciting bullet portion, but Hou Yifan, you just got to look at the scoreboard. She's really up against it.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see if you strike back here. I don't. We've had 4-game leads overcome in bullet before, Jen, in the history of these matches that we've done on Chess.com. We have never had a 5-game deficit overcome. So that she would be playing against history as well as a very strong American grandmaster if she loses this one.
Well, she's made history. She's become the women's world champion. She is besides Judith, the only woman to break 2,700, I believe.
Yep.
So she knows about making history. Maybe she can make it here at the Speed Chess Champs.
That's right. Well, we have 960 coming up right after this, everybody. Don't go anywhere. Regardless of the result here, we will immediately move into Chess 960 before a very quick break, and then Bullet Chess for our 2 players here. This will for sure be the last game in the 3-minute, barring a blunder in the next 5 seconds and someone resigning. We've got only 30 seconds left. And we've got a Spanish. We haven't had one of these in a little while.
Yeah, that's right. Fabiano was switching over to the French defense, which was going which was really leading to some extremely rich games.
Yeah.
So,
No, it was. And a good chance for us to agree that we both liked white, but we didn't get good results, I guess. With the meaning Yifan, I don't know if she got the best results against the French. She won that one really nice game.
Sometimes the counterattacking in the blitz games. Well, obviously Caruana is the higher rated super elite player. We'd love to see Hou Yifan join those ranks with her outstanding victory in Beal. She seems to be headed in that direction. But right now, Fabi is the world class player, and he was just playing some amazing counter punching chess there.
Apparently, we're both wrong in that Hou Yifan actually has never crossed 2,700 yet. She made 2687.
Okay,
in live a few years ago.
That's what I wasn't sure about. I knew that no other woman made 2,700, but okay, she was very close.
Right.
It hasn't gotten there yet. I know right now she's around. She's even a little lower than that, but
right.
I'd love to see her get there, and I think she will.
Yep, I agree. I think she will. She's 2669 now, but expecting that she will get there in her career as well. Well, let's see what she can do in her career right now. She's white in the Spanish. I think white has a little bit of an edge here. Black is preparing things like f5, everybody, but playing f5 comes with a lot of double-edgedness. Is that a word? I don't know, but it opens up white's light square bishop on c2. So we'll... Oh, well, he does it. I was going to say, we know it's the natural plan for black. Every piece is staring at the square, and he decides to do it. I think Yifan's going to take on f5 once and then maybe play f4 or what?
Gotta do something, yeah.
Maybe take f5 and then knight h5. I think f4 or knight h5 seem to be the natural.
Yeah, I think she wants to gain a little space here.
Yeah. The issue with f4 after e4 is you don't have this this bishop open anymore. That's why I was a little hesitant, but maybe she can organize some sort of undermining. Yeah, I was going to say, can she organize knight h5 and g4? And we are about to be all in with some crazy chess here. Let's see g4. Come on. Oh, almost. Come on. I want to see g4.
We'll see g4 before this match is done.
I still wanted to see g4 there and a full undermining, but okay.
It's hard.
The problem with this is those knights are...
this game, but yeah, this is a little hard to play for
white, right? I was going to say, yeah, that's...
active ideas.
Yeah, those knights are...
I think she's just shuffling because there's not a lot of active ideas, so she's just going to shuffle and see what black comes up with.
Well, plus without g4 and without the undermining the e4 square, those knights are kind of married to each other, right?
I know you want to say superfluous. Yeah, I know you want to say
it. Superfluous. No, we'll leave that for Yasser. No, I was gonna say it's like a dysfunctional marriage. They're married to each other on g3 and h5, whether they like it or not. But okay, she found a way. She found a way out of that. She had a prenup, got those knights out of there. So she's got queen h5 now, and she actually did manage to get the knights out of that kind of weird spot, and maybe she's going to redouble her efforts for g4 again. Although now would be a very risky time to do that with the knight h4 ideas coming. What's going on here? Knight h4 is coming anyway, so why did she play knight g3? Well,
I know this idea of king h8 and rook g8 is very dangerous. It's going to force the move bishop f2, I thought. Now, okay, knight h5 is also holding on to all the marbles for the moment, but now rook takes g2 is threatened. And you can't play g3 because of knight f3, so queen f1. But what's going to happen against Fabiano's simple plan of just doubling up the rooks?
Yeah, I don't know. I know it was hard to find a way to manufacture. It's one of those things where in a classical game with more time, you would find a way to be a little more accurate, maybe tactically do the work that makes you feel like you could get away with something like g4. But here it feels like the knights kind of jumped around for a while, didn't get enough, and now the g file is becoming useful for the second player instead of white. And I agree. I start to like black, and Yifan starts to go into the think tank.
Yeah, well, how is she going to protect g2 enough? I guess she's going to have to play rook e2, but there's bishop b5.
Yeah, it just feels...
That's the problem.
Okay,
I think
so she stops that, yeah.
She needs to play c4, and then after rook g8, now rook e2.
But still, it feels like knight f3 check is coming. I feel like we're headed towards some sort of brilliant sacrifice and mate. This queen's going to come to h5. We're going to get a sack on h3, and then knight f3, and some sort of like Najdorf Zurich International 1953 game here. This looks like Black is about to go to Sacktown.
I love it. Sacktown. That's a nice one.
I like
Yeah,
this for Black.
Yeah, I like the way you're thinking about this, but does knight f3 work right now?
Maybe not just yet, although you're right, it actually maybe is a little more interesting than I thought. But there's also bishop e8 coming into h5. I feel like Black just holds all the cards, whether it's bishop e8, bishop h5, bring the queen to the g file. Yeah,
I love your e8 move because she shut us down with c4, so now we're finding another avenue.
Yeah.
And now bishop coming h5 looks devastating. She's played queen e1 trying to take on g3.
Yeah, and maybe no sacks needed here. Maybe just bishop h5, let her take on g3, and then take e2. Okay, no, he decides I'm not going to even let her out of that net, and renews the threat of taking on g2 by bringing the queen to g7.
Yeah, that's a lot of pieces attacking
g2. Isn't knight takes g2 just game over now? I mean, I think that's what he was renewing with queen to g7. Knight takes g2 is a problem, isn't it? Okay, this is also a problem. Very nice way to finish off the game with mate there.
Yeah, you saw that coming though, Danny.
Queen h4. And he saw the whole thing through. Impressive. The queen's coming to h5, everybody, and white is mated, and the Chess 960 game is on. Just got to show the finish of that because we did kind of see it coming. We said there was going to be something nasty, and look at that. So, wowzers. And show that line one more time.
Great game. This that was a really lovely attack there from Fabiano. And now we've got a Fischer 960, Fischer random again, and we'll find out if we can avoid some mouse slips in this game. We had mutual mouse slips going on last time, but you know what? Mouse slips and blunders are going to be more likely in 960 because these pieces are in such odd configurations, particularly the knights.
Yep.
As both players struggle to get coordinated. We'll see which way castling occurs. That queen on h1 and h8 are so poorly placed, Danny. So Fabi decides to lash out with h4.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, the one thing as bad as having the knights in the center, maybe not quite as bad as that, the knights on the edge, is having the queen on the edge. Another way I've lost Chess 960 games is never quite getting the queen in a dominant position like she wants to be. So I think here white will play b3 and just defend c4 and then try to get back to that plan of queen h3, unless he sees something a little more dynamic as far as how to defend c4. But okay, you're in territory here where if she can win this game, she does bring it back to 4 games before we head into bullets. So she's, and certainly we know there's enough time and enough games played, usually about as many bullet games played in these matches as there are in the 5 and 3 minute combined. So don't go anywhere, anybody. I'm sure we are going to see something. Oh, look at that. I love those castles. That's how you do it. That's how you castle long in Chess 960. She figured it out. Nice to know that she pays attention to our notes that we sent her in Zoom.
Well, that's the most important thing, Danny, right? That she listens.
At least, no, it shows, as someone who's struggling as we host these shows with, production and communication with the players and all the commentary we're doing, I'm always happy to know that something went right on a technical level. So, all right, there we go. Another castles. Not quite as pretty as Yifan's was.
Yeah, well,
maybe f6.
Story checks out.
What?
I said story checks out.
Story checks out, yeah. F6 and E5, that's what I want to see. Although, let's find more ways to trap that queen on H8. That's the problem with F6. Yeah, she's not into it. She plays H6, and maybe she's going to try to get G5. But this is a tough position. I mean, look at that queen, right? I mean, the queen is kind of dealing with the bishop on B1, the bishop on F4. It's not easy to get her out into the game.
That's right. So this is how Fabi anticipated things earlier. He's bringing his queen out to H3, thinking about putting the queen on G3, or perhaps moving the knight to E5, and then the queen has so many choices of squares. Knight takes F7 is a threat, guys.
Yeah, knight takes F7 is Maybe a
Guys,
big threat.
I'm thinking St. Louis.
Just
you.
Just me. That's right. We know you like this commentary more than the St. Louis. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, I have such a great time. It's wonderful.
Yeah, the St. Louis commentary session, I have to say, I have a ton of respect for how you, Yaz, and Maurice hang in there, because some of those shows, right? I mean, how insane does it get when you get one of those 80-plus move games and you guys are there for 7 hours? I mean, if not for Yasser forcing the crew to take breaks, you guys would be in big trouble.
Yeah, right. It's like on breaks, everybody is like, "Oh my god!" And then as soon as the mics turn on, they're like, "Back in action." But here we have knight f7 anyway, because there's a because after queen
e7 is hanging, and that's
weird.
And again, it seems funny because I was just sort of, obviously I was pointing it out because the beginning of the game, the queens were in the corner, but it is kind of what's going to happen here. This happens in these kind of weird chess 960s. One side gets the queen active and the other doesn't.
But isn't this still okay for black? I mean, after takes on c7, queen e7, there's always rook d7, right? So why is this a good sacrifice?
You got
it's not good.
I mean, he's going to take c5, and I guess the question is how many pawns has he gotten? I mean...
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. It is a lot of pawns. 4, 6.
And actually, bishop f5 was a fantastic move, because if the rook moves, now queen takes c5 wins more than the pawns. It maybe will win the knight on d6. So I actually think that white is in the driver's seat here, and now he's going to get c5 with check, take on d7, and so it's strange, and that's one of those weird dynamics about chess 960. One side gets the initiative, and it's even worse than a real game because the other side never reached optimal development coordination anyway.
Exactly, and this was a class move, rook d4, stopping queen g4, gaining counterplay.
Yep.
And threatening just rook to d1. So it looks like it's going to force black into the queen exchange with queen c6, but that looks like too many pawns to grapple with, doesn't it? Yeah,
I agree. A lot of pawns here, and the rook is already dominant over the minor pieces, having control over the d file here. And if what you said about poker, the one thing that you notice as a tell is the neck, then we know we've seen a lot of Fabiano's neck today, and we know his neck has been pretty calm. So his neck seems pretty calm, and so I think he feels in control of this one. And f3. We got a knight on d6 falling, and Yifan needs this break. She needs to pull herself together and come back for an epic fight in the bullet.
Yeah, but this has been like such a high quality chess by Fabiano in so many games.
Both sides. And yeah, so she throws in the towel. She knows it's time for a break, takes a quick peek at the camera, and Jen, you and I take a quick moment to look at the score, remind everybody. So we have a 6-game lead for the favorite heading in, but I feel like the chess has been super close and high quality by both sides, and in the critical moments, Fabiano's just been that much better, a little bit better.
Yeah, it's been really wonderful to see Hou Yifan part of the Speed Chess Championships, and of course we would have liked to see this match being even closer, but the chess has really treated us despite that.
Agree totally, and on the note of the General Speed Chess Championship, let's remind everybody that it is brought to you by Masterclass during this break. Here's the bracket again to show you that the winner of this match here between Fabiano Caruana and Hou Yifan will take on Hikaru Nakamura. So they got a tough opponent waiting for them as we move into the quarterfinals. We will only have one side of the bracket left to know, which is Magnus Carlsen and Gadir Gusianov, and then of course Maxime Vachier-Lagrave and Jeffrey Zhang, which is next week on August 30th. So tons of great players in this event this year. It is sponsored by Masterclass, so let's do our due diligence and remind you that the one, the only, the 13th world champion did a course with Masterclass. And the thing I'm excited to see, Jen, I'm actually excited to see what happens in the opening portion, because apparently he's revealing novelties. And if it happens to be about the Scotch, one of my favorite openings, I'll be happy to see what his novelties are.
Yeah, that sounds like a blast.
Let's take a quick peek at this commercial again. We'll try not to do commentary over it, even though we've seen it a bunch of times, and have fun watching Gary play a simul against these people in this commercial.
Check. Chess is a game of unlimited beauty, but it's not just checks and attacks. You have to be creative. Let's count it. King G5, King C2, King F6, King B3, King B7, King C4, King D6, King B5, King C7, King A6. Boom. White lost, yes? Queen takes, then Knight F5, and it's a double attack. So let's go back and see what's the next logical moves. Skewer and attraction. And it's mate. What an amazing mate. I've been thinking about a few ideas that I never used. The one I want to show, it's one of my favorite openings. It's not about winning or losing, but of course at the end of the day it's about winning or losing. I'm Garry Kasparov, and this is my masterclass.
And we're back, Jen. We are getting set to start the 1 minute portion. Fabiano is back in his chair. We are waiting for Yifan. In just a moment, she will be here. Hopefully soon. We don't want the clock to start early in this one because it's only bullet, so I'm sure she'll be here any second.
We hope to. I know it's very early in the morning in Beijing where Hou Yifan is playing from.
That's right.
I was lucky enough to go to Beijing a couple of times. Wow, what an absolute eye-opener it is to travel all over the world because of chess. And it's great that Speed Chess Champs kind of shows off that international flavor of chess.
Yeah, and we're lucky we get to bring all these players together in a way that is lets them play too from their own homes, from a convenient environment, right? I think the webcam angle, as we continue to improve things and the technology gets better and better, this sort of personal look at these players is just, it's a lot of fun. And of course it's led to some pretty fun moments seeing their facial expressions and sometimes some music. These two have been pretty straight-faced today, right? We've had not a lot of animated. We've seen a lot of Fabiano Caruana's neckline. We've seen a lot of Hou Yifan's left hand. No, I'm kidding. No, we've seen, these two have been pretty serious. Not Anish Giri, who was bouncing to music pretty much the entire time. So, and with that, the last 30 minutes of this match is underway, Jen.
The bullet has begun, and it looks like both players are ready to whip out their moves fast and furious. That's what we like to see. I love this opening choice by Hou Yifan for bullet.
Agreed. And we've got the score there for everyone to follow. Certainly it is it's an uphill battle right now, but it starts with one win at a time, to use a cliche phrase from sports, since I look for every opportunity to do that. One game at a time, one win at a time, and we'll see if she can do that. Certainly she's white now in an opening we haven't really seen yet, some kind of creative little King's Indian attack, right, Jen? I mean, we've seen E4, we've seen Sicilian, so this is a first time opening here.
Yeah, just an opening where she can make a lot of fast moves is white. A really good bullet choice, I think.
Right.
And we see it has worked, as she has a slight time advantage over Fabiano, and her position is totally fine.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how. I have no idea how Hou Yifan is at bullet, Jen. I know that Fabiano is obviously has been the stronger player, and we certainly know he's a world-class GM. But I don't know that bullet is his biggest strength necessarily, right? I mean, he was in a super close match last year with MVL, and Maxime really tended to find his way in the bullet and kind of pulled away a little bit. So we'll see how Fabiano plays in the bullet portion here. Right now, Yifan's just up a pawn, isn't she? She just won a pawn. Straight up. Straight up pawn.
There you go.
A pawn is a pawn. How many times has that cliche phrase been said in chess? A pawn is a pawn.
Well,
not counting Georgi Kachishvili. Let's take away the obvious person who overuses it.
Oh, well, I'm just a dirty pawn grubber.
A pawn is a pawn. Well, we know Yasser loves pawns, so all right, well, he's got some compensation though. This knight on d4 is super strong. This is going to be a little tricky for white to deal with that pony, but here she goes. She's got a majority. A5 is hanging. Maybe you take on d5 and just go gobble a second pawn. I kind of like pawns. We both like pawns. Let's go get another pawn. Take a5.
But she started with this in-between move, Queen E4, getting her queen out of any potential discos.
Oh, but even nicer, actually. I think that she's, maybe not. Maybe as much as that looked fun. Ooh.
Oh, F5.
Wow. Super out of the
What?
blue shot, and the queen is in trouble because the pawn on E5 was pinned.
Oh, no. I thought there was Queen C6 check in that position.
Nope. And now she's going to go down because she's losing the rook. That was a
Oh,
horrible.
oh, yeah, Knight C6 is even better. Sorry. Yeah, I was thinking Queen C6 was good, but Knight C6 just forces resignation.
Yeah, that was
There you go.
a tough
What a nice
tough
move.
set of circumstances there, everybody. The whole point right here on the analysis board, as you can see, is there's a skewer here. The two rooks. She got herself in trouble actually with this move, knight to E3, which cut off the protection of the queen and walked right into this amazing F5 shot, taking advantage of the fact that en passant couldn't work. So doing our best to keep our viewers entertained and educated as the bullet goes on. We already know that's going to get harder and harder to do, but I just wanted to take a second to show that tactic, and we're already in another interesting game with an isolated queen pawn here.
I love these games for white, and I kind of like them for black too.
Yeah, this is one I also play for both sides. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say a lot of people in the chat are commenting on Hou Yifan's low bullet rating. Of course, that is because she hasn't played a lot of bullet on Chess.com. She is clearly way stronger than that. So don't get too excited about how your bullet rating is way better than hers.
Yep.
Give me challenger after this.
It'll be interesting to see what happens if she wins just a couple games, how much her rating will jump up. Should be fun, right? Because she's slightly underrated. If she was playing Hikaru here, Hikaru would be very upset about the rating difference because we know he loves his 3,000 bullet rating.
Everybody loves 3,000.
Who doesn't love 3,000, right? Dragon Ball Z, you know what I'm saying?
So bishop h4 with that little threat of bishop f6 and bishop e4.
Yeah,
There's always these little
like
tactics. But what about even in this position? I'm starting to worry about the king side because of bishop f6 and queen g3, knight g4 type stuff.
Yeah.
That all looks very
Here
dangerous. Or queen h4 to start also looks really interesting.
You were right. Yep. Queen h4, h7's going to fall, and the attack is on for white. This is what happens in these isolated queen pawn positions, at least if white gets his way. This type of attack, everybody. And it's trouble. I mean, I think white even has choices like knight takes f7. Okay, goes with knight to c4, and maybe we'll have a relocation party for this knight e3, knight g4, something like that.
Relocation party sounds like it's a very exciting party.
It's usually a party, a moving party, yeah. Nothing like tricking your friends into helping you move.
I bring beer.
Yep.
You bring beer and pizza.
That's right.
And the queens have come off the board. That was a little unexpected. And now forcing knight b2 to keep the material. Bishop d3, knight d3, and white has got an extra pawn, but there it goes.
There's a blunder.
The pawn goes.
Fabiano blunders right back, and now who's better? Because this bishop is better than the knight in an open position ending. Fabiano finding some tricks, though.
The person who's better is the person with more time, it looks like, because this is getting to be those wild bullet contests. Or as Larry Christensen says, the player with the knight tends to be better.
Right. Whoever has the knight has a huge advantage. Maybe I was going to say, I think maybe time for her to just trade the rooks on d2. She goes for it, and she has the 2-on-1. So, you know, there's potential that she can have the majority that's a little more effective if she can get these queenside pawns rolling.
Yeah, now
losing my voice after way too many hours of Chess TV this week.
Well, don't worry, I got you. If you have any problems, I'll just start talking.
You're right. I can always talk less. That's what my co-hosts tend to tell me.
Oh no, it's great. I mean, knight e3, knight c4. We got b3. This pass pawn for Hou Yifan. Yeah. Is she gonna get a game in here?
I like it right now. But the problem is, will she be able to put the knight and king in zugzwang, right? Because right now this knight and pawn they were holding the black king back,
but he's relocated to e4. But again, we need to get our king into the game to win this.
Yeah, and it looks like Fabiano smartly realized his king was doing the defensive job on b1, so he just wants to go get rid of all of black's other pawns. Yeah, very nice. And we're gonna see.
Yeah, bishop. Just it looks like, and no, she's not gonna. I don't want her to lose on time.
Well, it's a peaceful result.
They just drawn by agreement there. So I think that was our second draw of the match.
Yeah.
So tying for the other match that you mentioned where there was only 2 draws.
Have we seen a loss on time today, Jen?
No, I don't think so.
I think that also we might be about to make history with that. Maybe Mike can. I mean, that's a big
I
stat
think
to
it's a
ask.
little early
Mike.
to call that with
I don't know. I mean,
20 minutes left to bullet.
I was corrected by my pop culture reference to Dragon Ball Z. I always have to correct myself for pop culture snafus. It's over 9,000 for Mike Klein tells me there's no way he's researching whether it's the first match of someone losing all time. Come on, Mike. Come on, Mike. This is where you earn your Journalism of America award right here for the most amazing research ever. I'm just kidding. All right, what do we got here? We got another King's Indian attack, another position where White's able to make a bunch of moves fast. We'll see if that strategy continues by Yifan and Bullet.
I mean, in this contest, Fabi's got the time advantage, and he's also got a real simple plan here. He's going for his kingside expansion. She stuck a knight on d5. I like that.
Yep.
If
a trade happens here, everybody, the c file will become a problem for Black with the weak c7 pawn. So that's kind of White's idea.
Right, it's really like a reverse Sicilian, a reverse dragon.
Reverse Grand Prix Sicilian, right? Yeah.
So g5, which is a typical expansion here, and
we'll see if f4 is played. F4 would be the typical reverse Grand Prix shot here. Maybe takes first, but I think we'll see f4 actually.
Yeah, because f4 will also be pressuring, and queen takes e5 is the idea here because of pawn e5, bishop e7.
Very nice, yeah.
But e4 played, and there's a long diagonal for that bishop on g7, which has been opened.
This is going to be interesting. Black is going to play queen h5 and bring the knight in and try to orchestrate f4, but White is ahead of the race. Oh, and that's a very nice move. She picks up d6. I think she's clearly better now.
Yeah, and she's going to stick a bishop on e5, which is a lovely position for that bishop. It'll also be threatening things like d5.
Yeah, although that was a nice move right there. Fabiano not going to let his pawns on the b file become sitting ducks. He aggressively creates chances, and now if that knight d5's coming. Did she miss that? I wonder because although she's prepared to sack the queen. Okay, so our first queen sack by Yifan, we've at least had one by each player, so that's cool.
Sacks or ways to avoid immediate defeat.
Right. Not
a little different than the brilliant sacrifices mentioned in Mike Klein's article.
Not quite the same. You're right, but nonetheless, though, I mean, is she really worse here? I mean, this is a rook, a minor, and a pawn, and I can't say that. But she blunders the rook. Oh, heartbreaking.
Oh, no.
Heartbreaking. Oh,
that was the biggest blunder we saw of the entire match. Like, we haven't seen a lot of just like I hang my piece.
Which says a lot to the quality of chess we've seen, Jen. I agree. I mean, that's the first time we've seen like just kind of hand to the forehead blunder, right? Just like oops.
Totally, it's pretty impressive. That except that mouse slip by Fabi in the 960 game.
That's right. Yeah, I guess excluding the mouse slip. Okay, a couple big wins here so far in the bullet portion for Fabiano, but games, certainly that last one that Yifan didn't really have any business losing before the blunder, so we'll see if she can get herself a couple victories, and she's almost entering the mathematical not possible to come back territory. I guess it's not quite there yet. We won't call greatest comeback ever not possible yet, but if she goes down in this one, we're getting close to that line where unfortunately only 20 minutes left in the match.
Right, you don't think she can win like 9 games in a row. Yeah.
Right, just because of the amount of time.
That's the thing about chess, Danny. You never know. Remember Fabiano Caruana, of course, winning 7 games in a row in the Cinqueiro Cup back in 2014.
Speaking of our cap score, that's the next one that's coming out, as we've done a lot of research of the single greatest performances of all time, and we reviewed about 15 of them, right? You've got like Fischer's run through the candidates in the Soviet Union. You've got Caruana's dominant Sinquefield Cup. We've pulled some other like runs of like Capablanca's greatest series of games. So that's going to be a cool one coming out where we've tried to say, hey, here's the greatest chess ones of all time, and here's who played the most accurate brand of chess according to how modern-day engines would look at it.
Yeah, I have a feeling that it's going to be that performance by Bobbi.
I won't tell you, but I won't spoil it. But I will say that there is another modern-day performance that is right up there as well. That's really fun.
So knight e6. Oh, this position looks gorgeous for Fabiano Caruana.
Yep. Well, he's down a piece, though. So we'll see if he can, or if Yifan can wiggle her way out of this. The only problem is it's hard to be down a piece. I mean, it's hard to be under the attack, but it's even harder to be under the attack when you only have 13 seconds. And that queen is being chased everywhere.
Yeah. It's moved like 6 times in a row, hasn't it? And the knight d8 is a possible move as well. Now the bishop has come to e7, but things like knight f4 now trying to take advantage. Instead, the nice thing is that she can always hold on. If we ever get to play f5, she can always play knight e5. So
yep.
Fabiano kind of going towards the queen side instead.
But now she's managing a little bit of a blockade here on the light squares, and
that's right.
It's going to make
and
it.
Again, oh, but this pawn on h5 now hangs, and rook g3 is a threat.
Oh, she missed this one. You can tell she missed that one.
Rook e7, beautiful
tactic.
Very
nice move by Fabiano.
Queen coming to g6.
Well, that was a tough one. I think she saw this idea of queen h5 and thought she could maybe simplify it out with queen h8, but just missed the rook e7 pin. So, all right. Well, Yifan's got to get on the board here. She's not going to get blanked at bullet. I know she's going to get some victories. So we'll see how she does. She's sticking with this sort of interesting King's Indian stuff, and this is entering the territory. Fabiano really putting on a high-level chess show today, and Yifan playing super well. So I don't even think it's because of his opponent. I think that he's just playing super great. He's actually won 8.5 of the last 9 games, Jen. This is about as good of a run as we've seen.
Yeah, I mean, the bullet, of course, she's struggled with a little more, but I think that her performance in the blitz and the 3-minute games, it was mostly because of Fabiano's excellent play.
Yep. Agreed. And this is a weird one now, kind of a fun one. I think she can take on, no, she can't take on e4. d4 would have been a bigger problem, but we'll see what kind of counterplay she gets here. The biggest worry you have is moves like bishop d4, and there he goes, he plays it, because the dark squares are an issue here.
Yeah, I mean, that queen coming to g5 is going to force knight d1, but now
well, she might just have mate problems.
Right? But
I was going to say maybe he can play queen takes g3, d takes c6, and bishop h3 here, threatening mate because the knight is pinned to the king. I think Fabiano, yeah, he's thinking about that right now. You can tell he's
So queen g3, dc6. You're saying bishop h3, and we don't have time for queen d4.
Yeah, he's going for that. Although maybe we do have time for queen d4.
Yeah, that's the problem. So instead of that, maybe we start with rook h2.
Bishop e5 is a move here, Jen, because it threatens rook h1 mate. Yep, and he found it. I was going to say that's a problem, but mate.
That's a nice one. Rook h1, king h1, queen h2 mate.
Yeah, and right as he plays it, we realize I don't know that it's stoppable. I don't know that she can. Okay, she finds. No, she doesn't find it because rook h1 is still mate.
No.
It's just problem book chess there, and Fabiano
putting
on a show right now. He is
tactics. I don't think she got rattled when she was losing so many games in the blitz, but now in the bullet portion, there's not enough time to recover, and it does seem like it's affecting her play.
I agree. It seems like she's a little bit rattled right now, and as we check on the total time remaining, we have only 13 minutes left in the match. So unfortunately, pretty clear at this point who's moving on, but check out our bracket. Our bracket is not quite updated yet, but pretty clear who's going to be moving on here. We will have an updated bracket soon, and interesting stuff though. I think it'll be fun to see how she felt about the match. Obviously she played really, really well, and then maybe psychologically got a little bit down on herself as she lost a couple bullet games.
Yeah, I think the bullet is definitely a huge issue here, as Fabi is just proving so supreme in this particular format. But queen b4 here. Okay, let's see if she can get on the board here on the bullet and snag a game from him. Because I feel like I'm liking black here. We haven't given up any material and our development's quite good.
Yep.
I guess b7 is hanging at the moment. But it looks like that looks kind of greedy, doesn't it?
Yep.
Rook c8. We're thinking about playing rook takes c3. So she's played rook c7, also protecting the b7 pawn, and she's got almost a 20-second time advantage.
Yeah,
I do think this is going to be the game where she gets on the board in the bullet, I think. Not to jinx her or anything. I've been known to do that.
We both have. I was wondering why she didn't play bishop c4 there. She must have seen something that I didn't see. I thought bishop c4 might have prevented white from getting that king out of the center, but
now she looks like c4 is going down. I mean c3 rather.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of a peter out here. She wins the a3 pawn, and we'd like to think has a small advantage here, but maybe not. If black takes, I thought white would take b7 there, but the rook ending.
Now everything coming off the board.
What's going on here?
Well, there's rook a1, rook b1 is still.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I was just blanking there for a second.
So now there's rook b2, but with these super active rooks, this looks very promising. So that, of course, Fabiano realizes immediately he can't go super passive here.
Yep, trying to get out. He's going to bring the rooks to the 7th rank.
And her time advantage has disappeared. That's not good, because that was really what I was banking on here, that with the superior position and the clock, she would be able to win this one. But now she's actually behind on time.
Yeah, she still got decent chances here. She can run the a pawn. I thought maybe she would try to swing the rooks to the e file and maybe work together there, but
these pieces are flying so fast.
Yeah, it's hard to keep track of exactly what the most accurate moves might have been. If she plays a3, she's still playing for a win. Okay, no. Now I think we just got a draw, and that's okay. A draw is a draw. There you go.
And that'll be 3 draws in this match, so
so we don't break the Carlsen-Petrosian record today. And Fabiano biting into a piece of watermelon. Got a full MVL smorgasbord of snacks there.
I love it. Watermelon.
I could use some watermelon right now. That sounds delicious. Watermelon.
Everything sounds delicious right now.
Right. A nap sounds delicious to me right now. I cannot wait to go home and take a nap.
Sounds like somebody with 3 kids.
Yeah, 4 kids actually.
4. Oh, 4.
That's right. 4
yes.
And writing on a lot of commentary this week. So pretty excited. Wow. This is the end of the week, and then we got MVL versus Jeffrey Zhang next week, August 30th.
That's going to be an amazing match. And seriously though, it actually doesn't show. You still seem very energetic about this. I mean, after all, anything could still happen in this match, Danny.
Yep.
Well,
anything can still happen in the sense that any chess moves can still happen. Yes. But mathematically, unfortunately, it would take a miracle against the running clock. So
exactly, just not enough games left for Hou Yifan to come back, and we've kind of like unofficially thought that this was over for quite a while, but earlier in the match it really seemed like it could have gone either way.
I know. I mean, when she won that last 5-minute game and we moved to a 4-4 tie, right after the mouse slip in the Chess 960 game, I was ready on the edge of my seat, and I think she still played well in the 3-minute, but I think if anything it just showed that Fabiano really zoned in and just played higher quality chess, and now knight d4 is coming. Yeah, I was going to say she may win this one though. This is one where she is now up on time and I think really has an advantage.
You just like those. You like the 2 bishops, especially that bishop sitting on g2, which is unopposed.
I love
You're
that.
constantly having to watch out for cranking open the diagonal.
Yeah, she gobbles the b5 pawn, which makes sense, and she's still much better here. Grab the c file again, probably rook c1, yeah, and maybe can play f4 now. That's what I'd do.
Just start attacking.
Start attacking.
She plays knight f3, and she's just playing quick moves. This is bullet chess after all.
This is a nice maneuver, though. Now she comes back, and if the knight comes to e5, f4 is even stronger. So this was...
this knight coming to c6, e5. We've been waiting for that move to come in, and there it is.
Yep.
And that Fian Keto knight looks woeful on b7.
Yeah, that is not a happy knight. A good pin for white here, and this is where Yifan gets the victory. Knight takes h6.
Check. Queen g4 and bishop e4 coming.
Yep. And she's just going to take on f5 and then mate black in the middle of the board. And Yifan wins at bullet. And
I told you anything could still happen.
That's right. And it was a nice win. The score moves to 16.5 to 7.5 overall. Which is okay.
And now we've got this position where it looks like again we're seeing one of these Nimzo-like positions with a English opening move order where Fabi's got the two bishops and is going to try to open up the position for them. Knight g6, kind of anticipating all of our evil, diabolical intentions with f4.
Yeah, this position is a
Knight
strange
g3,
one.
and knight's coming to f5. Gotta love that knight on f5. That's not there yet, but will be soon. And there it is. Queen f6, she wants to make sure to prove some resistance against ideas like queen g4 and h4 without hanging on g7. So that's the reason why that queen's sitting there in f6. Of course, she'd love to trade off that beautiful knight on f5.
And a nice little tactic there.
Oh, yes, the knight on d7. So we just rip off a pawn for free.
Yeah.
As well as exposing your king. Yuck.
Well, even before this one is over, the score right now is 16.5, 17.5, and
he's eating watermelon.
And Fabiano Caruana enjoying some watermelon, and we know who's moving on at this point. We don't know what that final score will be, but it is currently going to be. It's going to be Fabiano Caruana versus Hikaru Nakamura, which will be fun. Hikaru probably big favorite there with the bullet and Hikaru's online prowess, but it should still be interesting to see those American rivals go at it. Looking forward more to Fabiano Caruana, Hikaru Nakamura, or Magnus Carlsen, Wesley So, assuming Magnus is able to get by the 16 seed Gadir Gusinov.
Oh, which one am I looking more forward to?
Yeah.
Oh, well, gosh, tough one, but I'll have to go with the world champion versus Wesley So. Just anytime you see the world champion against one of our American stars, it makes me think about what if we see him playing in the world championship soon. Meanwhile, I love the matchup, classic matchup between Fabi and Naka, but we do get to see that matchup quite often. Right. But it's a great one. So much history there, Danny.
Yep.
And this game, what's going on here? Has Hou got any extra chances here as the clock ticks down? No, it looks like she's just ticking away.
Yeah, and Fabiano takes the extra piece right there, which kind of a sign that, the position has run out and already living off the increment with 1 second left, she decides to call it a day. So we're back to a 10-game lead for Fabiano. 3.5 minutes left in the match. Not too much longer before we get to catch up with these players, which is always a fun time. So don't go anywhere, everybody. We will have a chat with the players as soon as the match is over. And, of course, even with only 3 minutes left in the bullet, there is one more Chess 960 game left.
Oh, I gotta love the 960. I hope we get a position where... 960
bullet. There's only one brand of chess crazier than 960 bullet when you've never seen the position before. And you know what that is, Jen. That's our giant chess. Giant chess is probably the only brand of chess crazier than 960 bullet.
And, you gotta love that workout.
That's right. That's what we need next, Jen. Chess 960 giant chess. Then we're talking. No, that's a little unnecessary.
Oh, and what about this E5 move?
Oh, she's winning a piece. No, she's not. No, barely she doesn't. Yeah.
There's knight takes d4, and then after takes on f6, bishop takes f6 protects the knight.
Yep.
Nice save there by Fabi.
But she's still doing okay here, I think. If she just moves the knight, she's got an edge with the dominant queen in the center. No, she decides to take. Is she going to take on f6 and knight d5? Come on. Take. Yes, we're going to have an awesome queen sack. And Fabi shakes his head. Jen, wow. This is how we're going to end the match right here. That is some sassy chess right there. Queen takes f6. That's what I'm talking about.
We've been looking for that. You know, we kept referencing this beautiful report by Mike Klein.
And she has rook e7 here if she doesn't want to take the queen back.
Rook
e7, come on. Come on, rook e7. Oh.
Queen e7, knight e7.
This works too, kind of.
Wow, increasing the pressure. Now the problem for Fabi is that bishop f6 was a real threat.
Yeah.
And after rook d6, what's at the end? She's up one pawn, but pawn on b4 does a decent job of preventing my majority from expanding.
At least a sack that worked in the sense that certainly white is better here. But I wonder if that move rook e7. I got to go over to our analysis board. I can't let that one go. Sorry, I got to see it.
We got to ask her about this later. But unfortunately, like what she's lost from playing that brilliant bullet sacrifice was that she is a little bit low on time, so she didn't have time to come up with your idea.
Right.
But I don't even know if it worked.
I don't know if it worked either. I think it might have. I tend to go too far with things, but I don't know. I have a feeling it worked. We'll get some confirmation from my engine partner. Look that up, Pete. You got to look it up. Rook e7. Anyway.
But one way or the other, your description was apt. Sassy and brilliant.
Let's do it. Let's see if she can win that pawn and get her second bullet game here. This was certainly a fun one either way because now she's putting on some decent technique. King d2, gobbled the b4 pawn, and she is in business. This is probably going to be the last official game. Look at that. A very nice rook trade by Fabiano. He's probably going to hold now.
Yeah, because
in fact,
b1 is in the position.
What in the world is going on here? Is he just better all of a sudden? That would be insane.
No,
no way he's just better now. But it is interesting.
Yeah, because they're just drawing by repetition. But what a way to finish the bullet portion with such a nice sacrifice. So even though it's just a 1 minute game, we can go and look at that position later and see was that good? That's what you got to love about elite players.
Oops! What just happened?
What?
Yifan accidentally started a game against somebody who she shouldn't be playing.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Uh-oh.
And she notices it. Pete was supposed to start the Chess 960 game.
Oh, but it's a 3 minute game. I see. So who is Elo G Keys?
Okay, there we go.
We
got one more.
I think I've seen Elo G Keys in the chat, actually. But it looks like maybe Hou Yifan is trying to figure out what to do now. Maybe she'll abort the match or something this game, and we'll get. Oh, and here we go.
Yeah, she figured it out.
Been aborted, and we've got our Chess 960 bullet.
Last game of the match: win, lose, or draw. This has been a blast.
God.
And somebody snuck in there. Shame on that person who was just waiting. It's probably what happens to these players sometimes during their playing is they're kind of getting spammed with challenges. We often advise them to kind of turn off all challenges from our members who refuse to acknowledge that this person is playing a speed chess match and try to challenge them every game in between games.
So here we go. We've got the Sphinx-headed queen, which I know you love.
Oh my gosh, I was in pain last time, and it ended up not working out well for Yifan.
But this is very dangerous.
What is this? Rook takes c6 almost came there, and then knight takes a7.
There's bishop c5 here. Bishop c5 just skewers the rooks.
Yeah.
So
less than ideal.
Yeah, it's tough sometimes in 960 when you're black and your position's worse. It's not easy.
No, it really is. And we do try to do our best to try to choose positions that are as close to the evaluation of classical chess in terms of who's better, but sometimes it's just not true. I mean, you get positions that are, or even if they start out that way, like literally one wrong move and suddenly white is just much better in Chess 960, right? It happens very quickly, so it's sometimes really tough.
But does black have some compensation here? Because that e5 pawn is going to go. Queen c5 looks like a good one. And now the bishop on h1 is also in the game. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And none of the queen is on b2, but none of black's other pieces are in the game. That's the problem. Like bishop b3 checks just king e1.
Yeah, the white king is getting out, and it's only a matter of time before this bishop on c6 moves and unleashes a nasty, nasty discovered attack against. Here it comes. Bishop b7 check, and then queen takes c7. Maybe? No? Apparently not.
They can't always be as good as you, Danny.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. He does find it next, but
it took him an extra move, though.
It took him no, I don't think he's. I'm not even sure it works. Okay, it does work, I guess, but yeah. But yeah, it took him one extra move, but not much extra. He does find it, and with that, we move on to the interview portion of the show today, and just awesome chess here. I'm going to go ahead and invite both of our players back if they are here. Fabiano and Yifan, can you hear us?
Yes.
Fabiano, you there?
Fantastic match, guys. I think Fabiano is with us as well. Congratulations on your victory.
Nice.
Yifan, you played phenomenal chess. The match was super close there. It was tied 4-4 heading into the 3-minute portion, and it seemed that after a few games got away from you toward the end of the 3-minute bullet, that maybe you got a little rattled. Do you feel like you maybe got a little frustrated toward the end, or just how the match went?
No, not really. I felt like I got some chances. Okay, but then when time runs out, somehow there's like a huge blunders occurred, like in many games.
Yeah. Have you played a lot of bullet chess online? I wonder, Fabiano and Yifan, how much bullet do you play regularly online?
I used to play a lot more in the past. I used to play a lot of 1 minute, but I haven't played very often with the 1 second increment, which changes it a lot because you actually have to play real chess. While in 1 minute in bullet, you could just
flag
your opponent,
right.
Which you can't do here. So, I still feel a little bit rusty in this 1 minute. It goes by so fast.
Did you feel extra prepared, though, because of the St. Louis Rapid and Blitz and all of those late-night Blitz sessions?
No, I didn't feel very well prepared. It's still very different playing online and playing over the board. It's a very different type of Blitz.
Which one do you think you specialize in more?
I probably don't specialize in either. I feel more comfortable over the board, at least. Around somewhere in the around like the 5 minute, 2 second 5 minute portion. I just stopped seeing anything. I just couldn't even see where the pieces were anymore. And I mean, rook d7 was probably the lowest point.
Fabi, will you raise your laptop a little bit so we can see more of your face? You do have a great neck, by the way, I have to tell you. But can you raise your laptop screen a little more so we can see your face directly? Just push your. There we go. Right there. Can you stay there?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Just fans want to see your face. That's all. We
all right.
It's okay. You're doing fine. Yifan, overall, the match was super close, and it seemed that the match, a lot of the games could have gone either way. In the critical moments, maybe you were down a little bit more on time. But what was your assessment in terms of where maybe some of the games got away from you, and as far as how you look back at things?
Yeah, I mean, definitely there were chances to, let's say, start from this 3+2 bullets, and somehow I fell away this first of all to rook endgames, which is quite a bit upset, and I thought later on Fabiano did very good, and okay, in the bullet games it was just like just like this, and I'm sure that both sides missed a lot of things.
Right.
We know it's just a bullet game, but we loved your final bullet game with the queen sacrifice.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
Okay, anyway, because I already did some big mistakes, so I decided to just try something more interesting, and probably it actually works. Probably they were better ways than what I did.
It did work. Did you consider rook e7 instead of playing rook to d1, blocking the queen from f6?
Bishop e6.
Okay, and then after bishop takes f6.
Rook e6 anyway. Yes, I should play rook e7.
Well,
also,
I don't know. We were just
knight takes f6. I was very worried about rook e7, but I thought I can take it and play bishop e6. And although probably this pin is just is going to kill me, g4 or something. After rook e7, I didn't really see a great move.
It was a really remarkable moment. 1 minute chess for us to be treated to such an exciting sacrifice. So that was a good way to end the match. Yeah,
it was fun, regardless of the. I'm bringing it up right now, rook e7, just because it was super fun. Similar to the great Nesmetdinov sacrifice in the Sicilian there, but rook e7 maybe there. There was also this queen sac earlier in the match when Yifan found this really nice combination with knight e3 to win a pawn, and then you decided to sacrifice the queen on d1. Did you miss knight e3? It seemed you did, and then kind of came up with this idea.
Yeah, I realized that knight e3 is pretty bad, and while Fawns was thinking, I was considering my options. I can either play a pawn down or sack my queen. I thought sacking my queen might be a better option, but it's really, really bad anyway. Right.
Well, I know you're both pretty tired after a long match, and although your day is just getting started there in Beijing, Yifan,
yes.
So you were very tired in the beginning of the match, and maybe now getting ready for the day. But want to thank you both, obviously, for just an awesome match. Tons of fans tuning in. We were greatly entertained and educated. You guys did teach us a lot with the Blitz, and Fabiano, you're moving on to face Hikaru Nakamura in the next round. How do you think you stack up in this format? Obviously, you've had lots of games against Hikaru before, and you've even when many people thought he was the favorite in that St. Louis showdown, you took him down in Rapid and Blitz. How do you think you stack up with Hikaru in the online format?
I think that the main difficulty for me will be the 1 minute portion, because this is one in which he's probably head and shoulders above every other player in the world, or at least definitely one of the very best at 1 minute chess. The rest, I feel I have my chances. That one I'll have to prepare pretty seriously for, to try to hold my own in the 1 minute.
Got it. Well, Yifan, this was a lot of fun. Did you have fun?
Yeah, I do enjoy it, and actually this is my first really critical experience to play online, which I didn't really try a lot before.
Right.
So that was quite exciting.
Well, we can't wait to have you do it again. So this is something that the fans really like, and it was great to see you guys up close and playing all these games, very closely contested games. Jen, any other questions or comments for our awesome players here before we let them go?
How's that watermelon, Fabi?
It's good. I needed some food because I was feeling so dizzy at some point during the match. So.
And seriously, you played so many amazing, instructive games, despite the fact that they were just blitz games. Do any of them strike you? Because I know it's probably all blurring together.
Probably at the start of the match. Some of my games were good. Some of the games in the French I liked. But I felt like at the start it was going very well, and then my levels just dropped so massively from games 1 and 2 to the rest of the 5 minute portion. But there were some decent games in there, I think.
Yeah, we definitely agree. Just very few blunders, actually. So really, it was a joy to and so many dynamic games with the Frenches and the Roy Lopez that kind of burst open just towards the end of the time control. just as you guys had 30 seconds left. So it was really so fabulous for us. Thank you both so much.
Yeah, and I know it's easy to say that now, but having to do a lot of these matches, I can say it was really impressive that we really had pretty much no blitz blunders, as we call them, probably until your mouse slip in the Chess 960, Fabiano, and then when Yifan played the rook a6 check and lost the rook to the bishop. I think those are the only two just like massive blunders, which is really impressive.
I didn't make a mouse slip.
When you played rook takes e2, that wasn't a mouse slip. You just missed the knight.
Oh wait, what was it? I thought it was rook e2. It's rook e2. Yeah, no, I was black knight. Yeah. Now it's all blending together, but that was a legitimate blunder.
Oh, it was just a blunder. Okay.
I thought it was a free pawn.
Jen and I were like, well, he must have been intending rook e3 because there's no way he would have played rook takes e2. That's what we thought.
No, at the start I wanted to play knight e3. I was planning to play knight e3, and then for some reason I thought it was a free pawn.
Okay.
And then after I took it, I realized that, and I even pre-moved queen takes. so it was that bad.
Okay, that's why. So it was a pre-move. Okay, that makes a little more sense. Okay, so a few blunders in the match, but still less than expected. It's pretty high quality. We all enjoyed it so much.
Thank you both. Yifan, we can't wait to have you do this again. Next year's Speed Chess Championship. Fabiano, good luck in the next round against Hikaru Nakamura.
Thank you.
Good luck to both in Tbilisi, of course.
And good luck to both of you in Tbilisi. That's right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you both. Have a great day, Yifan, and have a good night, Fabiano.
Yes, good morning and good night.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Well, Jen, it was a lot of fun and awesome chess there. And I think it was a lot closer than we thought it might be. And obviously it got away there from Yifan toward the end, but still a lot of fun. We have Fabiano moving on. Maybe you and I will have the call in that one. Fabiano and Hikaru. We haven't set the schedule yet for hosts and broadcast in round 2, but we are greatly looking forward to it. And thanks for flying along with me today.
I had a great time. Thanks to everybody tuning in for Speed Chess. And yeah, I'd love to be a part of future Speed Chess matches. It's so much fun, so dynamic, so many attacking games and interesting combinations. So good night to everybody. And thanks for having me on, Danny.
Thank you for being here. Bye, everybody.
Check. Chess is a game of unlimited beauty, but it's not just checks and attacks. You have to be creative. Let's count it. King g5, king c2, king f6, king b3, king e7, king c4, king d6, king b5, king c7, king a6. Boom. White lost, yes? Queen takes, then knight f5, and it's a double attack. So let's go back and see what's the next logical moves. Skewer and attraction. And it's mate. What an amazing mate. I've been thinking about a few ideas that I never used. The one I want to show, it's one of my favorite openings. It's not about winning or losing, but of course at the end of the day it's about winning or losing. I'm Garry Kasparov, and this is my masterclass.